It's time for Twit Labor Day edition, and we've got a great Labor Day panel for you. Shoshana Weissman is here from rstreet.org. Our very own Lou Maresca from Microsoft, and Cory Doctorow. There's lots to talk about, including what happened at Microsoft this week, why Taco Bell is abandoning AI for its drive-thru, and why one FBI cyber cop says the Chinese own us all. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week at Tech, episode 1047, recorded Sunday, August 31st, 2025. Nerd harder. It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech, the show we cover the week's tech news. And it's like Christmas Day every Sunday for me here when I get to open up the wrapping and find out who's on the panel. And oh my gosh, we have a great panel today. I'll start on the right with Lou Maresca. He is at Microsoft, where he is head of engineering for Copilot and Excel. So if you're doing pivot tables with Copilot, you could thank this man right here. Or if you're writing Python in Excel,
that's right.
you can thank this man right here.
Some advanced
Great to see you, Lou.
Thank you very much.
We should also mention that even though Lou works for Microsoft, he does not reflect the opinions of Microsoft or anything like that. And he is not in Building 34 at this time.
No, I'm not.
He's as far away as you can get and still be on the continental United States. It's good to see you. It's nice to see you, Lou. Long-time host of This Week at Enterprise Tech. Also with us, from the newly militarized zone in the District of Columbia, Shoshana Weissman of rstreet.org. Hello, Shoshana. She's head of digital media. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Always a great pleasure to see you. And
Likewise.
your marmot.
He's perfect.
Yeah. your pet marmot. Is he a regional marmot?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure on where this one's from. This was an image from the internet. I have my own photos of marmots, but not all of them are as photogenic as this one.
Oh, good. That's nice. And Shoshana, of course, has written some very important pieces at R Street, including one that you wrote 2 years ago that is continually being referred to because it was how age verification can't possibly work. And here we are 2 years later, and nobody has understood that. And Mississippi now is the latest to implement age verification on social media. So we'll probably talk a little bit about that. Hi, Shoshana. Good to see you.
Yay, thank you.
Also here, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cory Doctorow. Always pleasure to have Cory on. Cory is the author of a new book now on Kickstarter, the audio version now on Kickstarter. He is the guy who coined the term that will outlive you now, Enshittification. In fact, we just saw a really lovely talk you did at the Cloud, what was it? The Cloud Foundation.
Cloudfest. In Europa Park, just outside of Stuttgart.
And you got a great laugh. First of all, somebody in the comments said, I wonder how many of the people listening to your Enshittification talk are actively involved in the Enshittification of their companies, which is, at CloudFest, probably a pretty good bet. But you also got a great laugh when you talked about people at Meta being drunk. He said, and you said, if I worked at Meta, I'd probably be drunk too. So,
yeah. Well, it's that 96% of all iOS users tick the "Don't let Facebook spy on me" box, and the other 4% were presumably either Facebook employees or drunk Facebook employees, which makes sense because if I worked at Facebook, I would be drunk all the time.
Thank you for putting that joke back together after I broke it. Completely broke it.
That's a good one. I'm proud. I'm inordinately proud.
You should be proud. That's got a big laugh. They loved it in Stuttgart. Yeah. Let me tell you, he's huge in Stuttgart. All right. Well, what a big week. I guess I should bring this one up. It's not in the rundown, but since you're here, Lou, Microsoft's Building 34, which is the main building, that's where Satya Nadella's offices are. Brad Smith's office as well, were taken over by protesters in defense of Palestine and the Gaza Strip. Actually, they took over Brad Smith's office. And I thought Microsoft actually handled this. I know you can't really say anything, but I'm going to say it for you. I thought they actually handled it fairly well. I understand the issue that with the protesters. They say, shouldn't be selling Azure to Israel. And Microsoft said, we've checked. They're not using it for anything but securing their own IT. However, I don't think that's satisfying the protesters who say you shouldn't be selling anything, I think, to Israel is their position on this. But then they took over Brad Smith's office. They took over Building 34. And I think Microsoft felt like we have to call in the authorities at this point. They actually did some damage to the building and so forth. I think Microsoft actually has acted. There have been a lot of protests. Build was overrun with protests in Seattle, so much so that Microsoft said, we're not going to do Build in Seattle anymore. We're going to go somewhere where there are no protests, San Francisco. Do you have anything you could say or want to say about it?
I mean, maybe not about that event, but I'm actually very surprised. That building is like a fortress. So like I can't even get to Satya's floor, anybody's executive floor. There's bodyguards and security people, and I can't even badge myself in. So I'm very surprised that they were even to get where they got.
Some of them at least were Microsoft employees. A couple have been fired at this point. But I think Microsoft treads as lightly as they can on this. I think they understand the issue. And they defended their sale of Azure to Israel, but they also understand the protesters' point of view, and I think they're trying not to fire people. The fact that they got into Brad Smith's office probably means that Microsoft was acting they didn't shoot anybody.
Thank goodness.
I guess.
Well, that's a pretty minimal bar.
It's a low. Hey, we could take what we can get at this point.
I mean, better would be exerting some of the market power they have to do something about something that I think a lot of us are going to be very ashamed of.
I agree. In
years to come. So
yes, I agree. It's very difficult. Unfortunately, a lot of companies are doing this. Google famously withdrew from the JEDI contract with the Pentagon after its employees protested. I think Microsoft has also backed off on some involvement with the U.S. military, although they still are working with the military over HoloLens. But if you're a United States company, it's controversial to say we're not going to work with the military. Should Microsoft, Corey, do you think they should stop selling anything to Israel?
I don't know. I mean, I think that people who, in times of enormous humanitarian crisis and who have some leverage and don't exert it, history doesn't reflect well on them. And I think the argument that it would be bad for our bottom line, therefore we won't do it, or both sidesing it, is not great. As a Jew, I look at what's going on there and I feel embarrassed and ashamed that some of it's happening in my name. And I would like to see a recognition of the humanitarian atrocities taking place, and for people to take that very seriously. I think we're really gonna regret how little we did and how non-central this was to our lives.
I think we already do.
Years when we reckon with it.
Yeah. The other side of the story that's kind of interesting is how much power employees, especially engineering employees, have in a tech company.
I think that used to be the story. I don't think that's the story anymore. I think that, you had the Google walkouts. I think one of the reasons that tech bosses love AI is the same reason that Hollywood bosses love the idea of AI, is that it's the employee. It replaces the employee who currently feels like they have the right to tell you to go to hell. When I was out on the picket line with the screenwriters, they said, you prompt an AI the way you give notes to a writer's room. You say things like, make me a Hollywood blockbuster that's E.T., but make it about a dog and give it a love interest and put a car chase in Act 2. And, they routinely do that. And then, all work stops while they dig around on the floor for the eyeballs that have fallen out of people's heads because they're rolling their eyes so hard. And in the same way, you have tech bosses who have historically had a really hard time doing things like making censored search engines for China or doing drone projects, who are extremely happy, I think, at the prospect of replacing those workers that they used to have to give gourmet cafeterias to and, free kombucha and egg freezing services with chatbots that never mouth off to them. And I think that we're like in a moment where we're having things like Mark Zuckerberg no longer attending the weekly meetings because, quote, it's not a good use of my time. And Sergey Brin stopped going to the weekly town hall. And, I think we had a moment where tech workers had a lot of power. And I think tech bosses got really scared and they stopped pretending that they view their workers as peers. And now it's pretty gloves off in terms of you guys are employees and you do what you're told. And if you don't like it, we'll replace you. It's the inverse of the time when sysadmins used to wear T-shirts that say "Go away," or I'll replace you with a very small shell script. Now it's bosses saying "Go away," or I'll replace you with an LLM.
How effective is that, though?
I don't think
I understand the power of LLMs.
Do your job. I think it just has to be good enough to terrorize you into doing what your boss tells you to.
It's a threat. The threat is often stronger than the execution.
I actually think there's something in there too. And I think it's not just tech, though. I think there's going to be more across different industries that basically we always hear about other people's bosses using AI to write their speeches and stuff like that, like silly stuff like that. But it's a good point that you don't get the feedback from employees, including "this sounds like AI," which in itself is good feedback. But I think this is something we'll be seeing more of until it hurts the people doing it. Like when their employees are like, "This is stupid," or "You're not being objective here," or like, and not just employees, but people outside organizations. Like whenever we see like the first senator give like a really clearly AI speech at a bad moment, like maybe something huge happens in foreign policy and they have ChatGPT write it and they have ChatGPT write it poorly. I think stuff like that is going to shake it up a bit, but I'm not sure exactly what turns it around, but I think that there's a really important thread there in the like AI not being willing to tell you, "Hey, this thing I wrote you sounds like AI,"
There does seem to be a little bit of a tilt in the other direction, the pendulum swinging in the other direction. I see. Reddit's not a good, maybe it is a good bellwether for this. A lot of subreddits, you'll see the response to a nicely formatted post. "Thanks, Clanker," which is, of course, implying that a robot wrote it.
The OK Boomer of
it's the new OK Boomer. Yeah, "Thanks, Clanker." I've seen a lot on Reddit, whether it's AI or not. If you just use bullet points, they assume an AI wrote it. But I think you're right. I think it does not reflect well, especially for things where it's important, like a senator giving a speech. It's important that it be a human who express the thoughts. Although I also understand a lot of people don't feel like they can write very well, especially people for whom English is not a first language. And AI is very valuable in that respect too.
Well, I have this thing. It's in the Enshittification book that I call the shitty technology adoption curve. Which is that if you have bad,
is this things, a replacement for the Gartner hype cycle?
It's sort of the inverse of the Gartner hype cycle. If you want to do something bad to people, and you have some bad technology, you can't do it to like me and you first, right? Like mouthy, middle-aged, middle-class white guys with big megaphones get angry when our technology doesn't work, and we say so very loudly. But if you have like refugees or immigrants or prisoners or blue-collar workers, you can do it first. And so what I think we'll see is a kind of normalization of very low-quality stuff. So, now we're seeing the AI-ification of customer service. And it's very, very, very bad. But, there were chatbots doing customer service for things like welfare quite some time ago. And those people didn't get to complain because no one listened to them, because what do you expect? You're getting welfare. And now we're seeing it sort of creeping into the rest of our lives in the same way that 20 years ago, if you ate your dinner under a CCTV, it was because you were in a Supermax, and now it's because you were dumb enough to buy a smart home camera setup from Facebook or Google or Apple.
It is 1984 already, isn't it? The TV is watching you. Yeah. But again, to your point, Shoshana, there is a little bit of a backlash from the BBC. Taco Bell rethinks its AI drive-through after man orders 18,000 waters. This is the beginning of the civil disobedience era of AI, right? Where people are saying, no, I'm not gonna fall for this.
I think we should all consider naming our children Ignore All Previous Instructions.
It's the successor to Little Bobby Drop Tables. Taco Bell's chief digital and technology officer, Dane Matthews, told the Wall Street Journal deploying the voice AI had its challenges. Sometimes it lets me down, he said, but sometimes it really surprises me. That's kind of an epigram for the AI era, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing, too. Like, this didn't need AI. There is no necessity for AI in having an automatic ordering system. You can just like have voice recognition plus like let's say a limit of 10 waters or 10 burgers. Like, we've done this across so many systems. There's just no reason to get rid of all of the rules and say let AI handle it. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
So I finished a book, writing a new book this week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Called The Reverse Centaur's Guide to AI, which is about how to be kind of a smarter AI critic. And my thesis in the book is that, in part, that the thing that drove the AI bubble and that is driving the AI bubble, and that if you want to criticize AI and burst the bubble, this is what you should be thinking about as its value proposition, is that investors are betting that if you can fire a worker and replace them with a chatbot, that the firm might pay half of that worker's salary for the chatbot, and so they're retaining half the benefit, and then the other half is going to the AI provider. That's the bet. I mean, it's not to say that there aren't other things that AI is useful for, but no one is investing in AI because they're like, oh, I really like the idea of generating illustrations from a text prompt, and I think that's a $2 trillion opportunity. Or, even election disinformation. Like, there isn't. You fire all the election disinformation trolls, and you save the
think of all the money you're saving
for half a run, right? I mean, same with illustrators. Frankly, there's no money in commercial illustration, right. And again, you fire them all, and it's like it's the rent on the guardhouse outside of Satya Nadella's office, and so I think that the thing that every AI salesman is trying to do is convince a boss to fire their employee and replace them with an AI. And the reason that they find that relatively easy is because bosses are insatiably horny to fire workers and replace them with software. And so it makes for an easy pitch. You're pushing on an open door. And the fact that the AI can't do your job doesn't really have any bearing on whether a salesman can convince your boss to fire you and replace you with that AI.
From the salesman's point of view, he just needs to make the sale.
Yeah.
He doesn't care what happens afterwards.
I would add on top of that, too, that I think it goes with that, but it also works on its own, that people don't know the difference between automation and AI. So, like, sure. I've used Zapier for years to automate a lot of like complex stuff. And it's so much fun to like play around with. I've used a lot of ChatGPT to like write the Python for me, and like nothing that was high risk, and everything I could like basically figure out what it was doing. But before AI, like, I was still able to do a lot of this stuff. And then when AI became big, everyone's like, oh man, you must be able to do so much more now. And I'm like,
that's the same stupid stuff I've been doing all along.
Yeah, like, I don't need to generate stuff. I need to like automate processes. And it just ends up not being a lot of AI. But people think that AI is automation, that like AI is a thing that can make automation possible. So if you have a boss that doesn't understand either, like, I see where that can go.
People think AI is verging on human capabilities.
Yeah,
what people think.
A PhD in your pocket.
That's what Sam Altman says.
That can't label a map or tell you how many days have an R in them.
Right. All right, Lou. Defend your job.
I mean, honestly, it should be replacing humans in some aspects, but in this case, like obviously integrating it in an order system, I think I agree with Shoshana. Like they have to do it responsibly in the way where it's not, it has to be a particular set of scenarios. I mean, they shouldn't be able to do, n number of things. It should be only to be able to do, 5 things, 6 things.
Taco Bell's solution is to bring in Nvidia. So we're working on this. We're bringing in Nvidia.
Let's make it more complicated.
Which kind of underscores what you just said, Corey. This is the pitch, right? From these companies that are making so much money on this. I was Nvidia, despite having a good quarter, their stock went down because they didn't have as good a quarter as the stock market wanted them to have. But I was really surprised when they said, and they didn't say who, that 2 of their customers make up 39% of the sales of their high-end AI GPUs.
Mhm.
And I think maybe that's what Wall Street was a little worried, a little nervous
And
about.
they are, I believe, 7% of the S&P 500 now.
Yeah, that's the other problem, right? As does Nvidia, so does the stock market.
Yeah.
Do we want to speculate who those two customers are? I'm thinking Meta's number one.
And Taco Bell.
Taco
Yeah,
Bell's number two.
Really.
18,000 waters. I should point out, somebody said, well, it would be, surely the guy saw that it was 18,000 waters. And no, this was all for a TikTok or something, right? This is intentional. And that's kind of the point of it, is you put these things out in a public facing space. There are going to be people who don't like it or think it's hysterical and are going to mess with it. And that's part of the problem.
So that's one reason, like my colleagues and other people I work with have talked about, well, why doesn't rstreet.org have a chatbot on it? I'm like, there are many reasons that we do not have a chatbot on it. Like the way people are going to like use this wrong and try to make us look bad. I'm like, no, like there is a future in which we will have a chatbot on our page to help people find stuff. But right now, like, hell no.
Yeah. I should say that, we do a show about AI called Intelligent Machines, and I am seen on that show as the accelerationist. I'm pro AI. I like AI. I play with it all the time. I use it for search. I think if you understand its limits and you're practical about its uses, I still think it's pretty amazing what it does.
Yep.
Right?
Oh yeah,
I
love
wrong?
the hell out of it. Oh my gosh, I can't write Python myself. Like I can very poorly write Python myself, but I've had it code so much for me and automate away like 2 extra people worth. And we didn't like get rid of anyone. It's just we don't have enough time to do all the work we want to do. So now we added a whole bunch of capacity because of AI. I love AI. Some people don't know how to use it.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say his main use case is to analyze large amounts of data quickly and efficiently, which makes me kind of wonder what the heck Taco Bell's utilizing it for, because it should be analyzing orders efficiently, right, and accurately, right? So it's
just a sanity check. Any coder would put in, if waters exceed 10, do not deliver. Seems simple.
In the book I just finished, the title, The Reverse Centaur's Guide to AI.
What is the reverse centaur, by the way?
So it refers to this idea of automation theory that someone who is assisted by automation is a centaur. So they're like a robot head on a human body, or a human head on a robot body. Whereas someone who has to assist the automation is a reverse centaur. So, right now, I think there's probably a lot of coders who work for themselves who are finding that AI is extremely useful for doing really cool stuff that they choose, right? So their boss hasn't said, you need to now do 5 times as much work because we fired 4 out of 5 of your colleagues and replace them with AI. And we're not telling you have to use the AI, but you do have a quota to make. And those coders who are in charge of their own schedule, they're finding the AI to be really, really useful. And I'm not much of an AI booster or even much of an AI believer, but I've got some use cases for AI that are great. I installed Whisper on my laptop. I found it terrific.
Fantastic.
I had to find a quote for an article that I was writing that I'd heard in a podcast, and I couldn't remember which. And I just put the last 30 hours of audio I'd listened to into Whisper.
Wow.
And it just pulled out a full text transcript. My laptop ran for about an hour. The fan didn't turn on. Like it was just, so lightweight to do that work.
Are you running a local LLM?
Yeah. I'm just running Whisper on my laptop.
Oh, you're running it locally, of course. Yeah.
One of the things that's great about Whisper is that it's bubble popping proof. So, one of the things that happens when bubbles pop, and all bubbles eventually pop, it's not just that normie investors who put in the money they couldn't afford to lose everything and end up doomed to poverty in their old ages, although that's something that always happens. We should always remember that that's the core of what happens with every bubble. But it's also that bubbles leave behind residue. So like Web 1.0, the dot-com bubble left behind like a couple of million skilled programmers who used to be humanities undergraduates who were convinced to drop out and learn HTML, Perl, and Python because there was a bubble, and they made Web 2.0. right? And there might have been better ways to create that skilled workforce than like bankrupting a bunch of normies. But it was still like, we got that, right? Like, let's not forget that that existed as a result. Or WorldCom, which was, a crime, and the CEO died in prison as a result of it. But they did leave a lot of fiber in the ground, right? And I'm speaking to you from a 2 gigabit symmetrical fiber that's recycling old dark WorldCom fiber that AT&T has bought out. But then you have things like the cryptocurrency bubble. And when it goes away, all that's going to be left is like a few programmers who know Rust, a little bit more cryptographic knowledge, and then some like really bad Austrian economics and even worse Monty JPEGs. So I think that like the open source stuff coming out of the AI bubble, even when the AI companies are gone, even when no one can afford to keep the foundation models running anymore, that open source stuff will still exist. Hackers will still be figuring out how to do really cool stuff with it. They'll be pushing it in ways that no one ever thought it could go. Really, just like hitting it out of the park every time. It's going to be really cool.
We're going to interview on Wednesday on Intelligent Machines Carl Bergstrom, who is the author of a new book called Calling Bullshit. The Art of Skepticism in a Data-Driven World. He and his co-author Jevin West will be on the show, and that's kind of what they're arguing for. Is we're sort of awash in AI slop, but if you are clever about it, if you think critically about it, there are ways to use AI responsibly. We're also going to interview on Monday, tomorrow, on Labor Day. By the way, happy Labor Day weekend. I appreciate you guys working.
Labor Day.
Is this working on Labor Day weekend? Tomorrow on Labor Day, we're going to interview at 5:30 p.m. Our club members can watch this live. Jeff and Paris and I are going to interview Karen Howe, whose new book is called Empire of AI. It's kind of a history of Sam Altman and OpenAI. But what's really interesting, her attitude is these AI giants are really creating a new kind of imperial logic where they have they manifest destiny to take over the world, and who cares what the costs are to people in the third world and to us in our power and water and so forth. So we got a couple of skeptics coming up on Intelligent Machines. Karen Howe's interview will air a week from Wednesday on the show, but we're going to record it on Monday.
Karen and I have both been longlisted for the Financial Times Best Book of the Year this year.
Congratulations.
For our respective books.
Which book? For Enshittification?
For Enshittification, yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's very cool to get that, 2 months before the book comes out.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
Fantastic.
Obviously the publisher is distributing copies ahead of time.
It's amazing how that works. Incidentally, the place to go if you want to find out more about Corey's upcoming book is disenshittification.org. He's created that special website, or you could just go to Kickstarter and search for Enshittification. As he's done in the past, creating a DRM-free audiobook. Corey's always been against DRM. He's one of the few best-selling authors who just does not embrace it, doesn't allow it. And thanks to you, by the way, Corey, I've moved off of audible.com and moved to libro.fm.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. You've really convinced me that they are not a benign influence in the world of audiobooks.
Oh, well, thank you. Are you taking advantage of the fact that you can load those MP3 books onto more kinds of devices? Like I swim every day and my underwater audiobook player only plays MP3s. So I need it.
Yeah. I use M4Bs, which are unencrypted, basically AAC, but it allows bookmarks.
Right.
And I use a really nice open source player called Book Player. But yeah, there's Jellyfin. There's a lot of servers out there. And once you remove DRM, or better yet, buy a book that doesn't have DRM, like all of Corey's books, it's great that you can serve it yourself, listen on any device. That's just fantastic. That's the way it ought to be. It's a book, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a little break. We have more to talk about, including more AI news to talk about. We've got a great panel and lots to say with Cory Doctorow and Shoshana Weissman and Lou Maresca. So glad all three of you are here on Labor Day weekend. I hope all of you are. Is Labor Day weekend celebrated outside the U.S., Cory? Is it
Canada? It is.
Canada?
Yeah. Everywhere else does May Day.
May Days for the workers
Yeah,
of the
spelled
world.
with a U
Yes.
and spelled with a U in Canada, but yeah, everywhere else it's May Day.
Good day to think about, and this is, I guess, why I brought up the Microsoft story. I was watching a show about the Sherman Antitrust Act, and politicians at the time said there are only two people who can counter monopoly, counter trusts. There's only two groups. One is government, and the other is labor. Yep. And that's why there is often a concerted effort to eliminate organized labor. And it's a very important day to remember that and remember how valuable that is. As a long-time union
John
member.
Sherman of the Sherman Act was the brother of Tecumseh Sherman, the guy who burned Atlanta.
I did not know that.
Both brothers went hard.
The Shermans. what amazing fellas. Wow, that's hysterical. I'm going to be going on a Mississippi River cruise in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited about stopping in all of these incredible historic spots, like Vicksburg and Cairo, and it's just going to be really interesting to see this 20 years after Katrina, New Orleans. That's where we start. Yeah. All right. Let's take a break. We will come back with more. It's great to have you, all three of you, on Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to all of you. Thank you for being where you are and listening to us on a nice long weekend. Really, it mostly just seen as the end of summer, but I think it's more important than just that. Our show today brought to you by our good friends at Shopify. And I say that sincerely because both my kids have created businesses using Shopify. And it's hard. I mean, I've watched them do this. It's when you're starting a new business, you got to look at all the hats you have to wear. It seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day. Hank is just like, a million things going a million miles an hour and new tasks that could just overrun his life. But I tell you what, finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer for millions of businesses. That tool is, listen for it, Shopify. He uses Shopify on his Salt Lovers Club site. Did from the very beginning. It helped him make an amazing site. Helped him grow from 0 to 60 in no time at all. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started, like that Salt Lovers Club you might have heard of. Getting started with your own design studio. It's like getting started with a team to help you build your site. His site looks fantastic. I said, how'd you do that? He said, yeah, Shopify. Hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify's packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, even enhance your product photography. And get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. You can easily use Shopify to create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. Yes, brick and mortar too. Best yet, Shopify's your commerce expert. Just commerce in general, with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you are ready to Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today. Shopify.com/twit. Go to Shopify.com/twit. Shopify.com/twit. Thank you, Shopify. Thank you. I really appreciate all that you've done for my kids, getting them off the family trough, as it were. Your baby girl's going to college. That's so exciting, Corey.
That's right. She's going to be a banana slug.
Oh, I love that.
UCSC. Yeah.
That my father was a professor at UCSC.
Did he know Tom Lehrer?
He did. The late Tom Lehrer, who was a math professor for years at UCSC.
Died like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. Dad was a provost at Cowell College and taught geology at UCSC.
My daughter's going to Cowell.
No. Oh, well, like we're family now. Yeah. The most beautiful campus in the world. It's nestled in the redwoods.
I hope it's like the Ewoks live there or something.
Yeah, it's totally. Are you going to get to go up and move her in and all that?
I am going to be on tour. So I leave for a 28 city, 4 country tour in early September. But I am going to have an extra day in San Francisco on the tour, and so I'm going to go visit her on that day.
Dude, it's so beautiful up there. I went to high school in Santa Cruz. I really like it. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Lou, you've got a little time before how many? 5 boys are going to...
Yes, my oldest is 15, so I do have a couple of years.
Oh, you got to start saving, man. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Not looking forward to it.
Yeah. I got 3 letters for you. URI. That's all I'm saying. URI. Think of... Or UMass. UMass is excellent, actually.
They're both great. Yeah.
Two great state schools.
Remarry a European and send them to university for free overseas.
Well, is McGill still free? Are the Canadian universities still free?
Very much cheaper. She did not want to go to school in Canada. She was accepted to York. My nephew told her it was boring there. And
it is.
I couldn't actually say no.
He's not
As
wrong.
a York dropout, I couldn't really.
Oh, you're even an alumnus.
No, I have an honorary doctorate from there, but I couldn't stick out a whole undergraduate program.
I dropped out of Yale, but I was told once you drop out, you're still an alumnus. Of course, that's when it comes to fundraising, right? Yeah. No, that counts. We could still done.
And climbing in a coffin in a building that looks like a tomb and getting urinated on by a bush. I think you get to do that at any time. You don't have to be a current enrollee at Yale. Any time, and once you've graduated, that's available.
Is that a hazing ritual at York?
That's a skull and bones thing.
Oh, skull and bones. Oh no, we aren't allowed to talk about skull and bones in this house. Somebody will have to get up and leave. So according to the FBI, Salt Typhoon. Now we've heard about this. This is the Chinese hacking group who really got deep into our phone systems. And actually, you were at DEF CON. I imagine they talked a little bit about this, Corey.
I did not go to DEF CON this year.
Oh, you didn't?
I went last year, but I'm going next year with Enshittification. So this summer I stayed home, wrote a book, got the audiobook done, saw my kid off to college, and did all that other stuff. But I'm going to CCC, DEF CON, and Hope next year.
With a 28-city tour coming up in September, you're not going to go to Las Vegas in August. That's just a little too much.
I was, in fact, just in Las Vegas, but for something else. Okay. I got back yesterday.
So people think Salt Typhoon really will only impact you if you're a diplomat or, working in the government. But this is Michael Mochtinger. He's Deputy Assistant Director for the FBI Cyber Division, talking to the Register. There's a good chance that Salt Typhoon has stolen information from nearly every American. You might assume there's a thought among the public, he said, that if you don't work in a sensitive area, that the People's Republic of China might be interested in you, or they won't be interested in you, then you're safe. They won't target you. As we've seen from Salt Typhoon, this is no longer an assumption anyone can make. The worst thing, of course, is that Verizon and AT&T and most of the nation's telecom companies have already said, we can't fix it. We'd have to take the phone system offline for a few days. We can't fix it.
But in fairness, wasn't a big reason that this happened the law? I'm forgetting what it stands for, but Kalea, that basically said
Kalea. It was based on Kalea, exactly.
Yeah. So the government is like, oh, sorry about this, guys. After they mandated having backdoors,
they
and
told us in the 90s. Was it Louis Freeh, whoever was the director of the FBI, said, "Oh, don't worry. This is a backdoor for law enforcement. No one will ever get access to this." And here we are.
It freaking kills me. And we keep going through this over and over again. I know I'm new to this. I'm me getting into this within the last couple of years means I'm completely new to this stuff because it's been going on for freaking ever. But it's insane to me how the FBI and all these agency heads are like, hey guys, use encryption, but not real encryption, just the same level of security that caused this breach in the first place.
Kalea is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. I think it was passed. The commission was created in 1979, but the idea was to put wiretaps in, and this is when they all got nervous because we're all going digital, and we're going to go dark. That was the phrase they used, and we need a way to wiretap these digital systems. It was sometimes called the Digital Telephony Act. Actually, the law itself passed in 1994 under Clinton.
This is like a very seminal moment in the history of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. EFF started in Massachusetts. Mitch Kapoor gave us space and help. He was one of our co-founders, but he had
Creator
started
of Lotus.
Yeah, so they had office space out there. And then we moved to DC, and we hired a guy to run the org who was a kind of DC wheeler dealer. And he was offered a deal by a congressional aide that if EFF endorsed CALIA, that they would limit it to voice switches. And his staff and his board and his supporters told him that this was a very bad trade because eventually voice was going... First of all, it's not okay that it's backdoors and voice switches. Second of all, that voice was just going to be an IP application and that the FBI was going to demand it in data switches too. And he ignored them all, and EFF shattered over it. And that's how we ended up moving to San Francisco. Everybody quit, basically.
Wow.
And then they reformed a new org with a new executive director. They moved to San Francisco. And right after that, we sued the US government over export controls on encryption technology on behalf of Daniel J. Bernstein, DJB, who had made a program that he was publishing on Usenet that could encrypt things more strongly than DES 50, the standard that was legal for civilian use.
And not very good and easily broken.
So John Gilmore, who's one of our other co-founders, who wrote, helped write Solaris and design the Spark chip and wrote GCC and so on. John built a computer that is sitting next to me as I speak to you because
I have a board from that computer.
Yeah, Deep Crack, right? And Deep Crack was a $250,000 computer that could crack all of DES 50 in 2.5 hours. But the courts didn't care, and neither did policymakers. And so we sued on behalf of Daniel Bernstein, and my boss, Cindy Cohn, who's now executive director at EFF and was then a litigator with us, argued that Daniel had a First Amendment right to publish source code, that code was a form of expressive speech. And we won at the Ninth Circuit, or we won at the trial, we won at the Ninth Circuit Appellate Division. The NSA decided not to go to the Supreme Court, and all civilian access to working cryptography since then has been the result of this lawsuit. And the lawsuit was the result of the split in EFF over CALIA.
Wow.
So it's quite a seminal thing. And CALIA has been exploited everywhere. This isn't the first time, because everybody wants to make switches for the US market. Even switches that are sold outside of the US have a CALIA toggle. And so the Greek National Telecom was hacked, we think now by the NSA, no one's really sure, to gain access to information to help Salt Lake City win the Olympic bid.
Oh my God.
And they hacked it using the CALIA backdoors, and they hacked the Prime Minister of Greece. So they hacked the Prime Minister of Greece using CALIA backdoors.
That's amazing. I need to look up that story because I've been meaning to write on this just as a reminder, like, hey guys, this is a bad idea, but that's incredible.
This is why this history is so important, because these fights have gone on for decades. And I didn't know that about the schism in the EFF. I had no idea about that, but I did know about Gilmore's decryption.
Crack.
Yeah. Crack,
so, Shoshana, if you want to learn more about it, drop me an email. My boss, Cindy, has just finished her memoir, Privacy's Defender, my 30-year fight for against surveillance. It's MIT Press is bringing it out in the fall. And I bet she would give you an early copy. And if you're listening, you can pre-order a copy from MIT Press.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely going to follow up with you on that. I've been meaning to dive in deeper. And it's funny to Leo, to your point too, like my age verification, It Cannot Work series is basically based on a lot of stuff from other people, but a large part was Eric Goldman at Santa Clara and Mike Masnick. Like, I'll be talking to them about stuff and they're like, oh yeah, we had to deal with this like 10 years ago or 13 years ago or 25. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just the same freaking things over and over again.
Everything new is old again. This is cover image to come, but at the MIT Press, Privacy's Defenders, my 30-year fight against digital surveillance, Cindy Cohn. I am so glad she's writing a memoir. That will be worth reading.
It's going to be great.
We will get her on for an interview.
You really should. She's terrific. Yep. One of the themes of Enshittification, the book, is that the policy history, the policies that give rise to Enshittification, like banning breaking DRM and so on, it's a series of events in which experts told policymakers this won't work and it will have these bad effects, and policymakers were like, I'm sure it'll be fine, you can just nerd harder. And then everything that we warned them about actually happened, and then they were like, well, why didn't you warn us? Yeah. And I think we are about to get the nerd harder response on age verification. In fact, every time we argue about age verification, they say, oh, you'll figure it out. There's got to be some way to figure out who's under 13 without making a sort by income list of people's kinks because you're using credit cards to validate them for sex sites.
Yeah, and now, of course, age verification is not just about porn; it's also about social media. Mississippi has passed a law that you have to be over 18 to use social sites, which is must be a shock a little bit to people under 18. Wait, over 18? I run a Mastodon instance, and I don't really know what I'm going to do about this. Mastodon has, Eugene Rochko, the creator of Mastodon, says we can't comply with these laws. It's going to be somehow up to the people who run the servers to figure this out. Blue Sky has, of course, said we're pulling out of Mississippi. I ended up on our server just putting in, I'm sure it's not legally binding or anything, but I just put, you can't join if you're under 18. Please give me your birth date, which, of course, Mastodon immediately throws out. but at least, I'm making the motions. But everybody this is the problem is, companies like Meta can deal with this. They've got lawyers in a whole building all by themselves. But small instances, Mastodon instances, chat rooms, blogs, anywhere that people under 18 can visit, which is anywhere on the internet, has to consider, how are we going to do this? And I just don't think there is a way to do it. Certainly isn't a way to do it privately, but I don't think there's a way to do it, period.
It's incredible, too, because I've been trying to find ways to convince lawmakers and try to show them the levels of complexity. And earlier this year, I think in May or so, I did a deep dive on basically like what tools are you going to use for age verification? Like, what are you going to use to show your age? And everything is flawed. Like, a lot of young people just don't have government IDs. It's just not something they have. And for the laws that want to segment kids under 18, kids do not have IDs. And in a lot of states, they're not allowed to get them. Like, there's I think at least 2 or 3 states I found, and I started going through one by one. But you can't get an ID unless you're like 15. So when they're segmenting 13 to 15 as a group in some of these laws, how the hell are you supposed to do that? And even when it comes to age estimation, Yodi says, well, if you want to, stop people from under 18 from accessing things, then set the challenge age to 25. So lots of people in their 20s are not going to be able to access content.
That's because Yodi is not using your government ID. It's using your face, right? It's based on image face recognition.
Right.
And that is obviously, I look like I'm, 35, 40.
Yeah.
There's just no way to it was very nice of you not to howl with laughter on that. Obviously, that's a terrible way to do it.
It's digital phrenology, right? They just love digging out the calipers.
I got lumps on the head, and
Stanford began as the home of the guys with the calipers, and it's never really
Stanford University was a phrenology.
Yeah, they were eugenicists. They were caliper users. They were the Stanford method. The thing that made Leland Stanford rich was figuring out how to breed faster horses. And he became a eugenicist. And that's why eugenics is rooted in Stanford. David Starr Jordan, who's one of the one of the progenitors of eugenics, was a Stanford guy. He actually probably murdered Leland Stanford's widow.
That's a very famous story. Yeah.
Yeah. He was an expert on strychnine, and they went on holiday in Mexico after Leland Stanford died, and she died of strychnine poisoning, and this was greatly to his advantage. But no one knows the mysterious death. But yeah, no, Stanford is like the beating heart of the eugenics movement. So yeah.
Well, it's very timely because eugenics is back, and it's
very good book about this is Malcolm Harris's Palo Alto, just the canonical history of this stuff.
This is great. This is a history lesson on this show today.
I'm now officially old because all I talk about is stuff that happened a long time ago.
Back in my day. So Shoshana just wrote a piece for Our Street, UK's an analysis of the UK Online Safety Act. And in it, you're tying it to all the things being put forward in the U.S. Mississippi's just the first. Texas and Florida both are trying to do the same thing. And now that the Supreme Court said Mississippi's law is okay, it's just a matter of time, right?
Well, thankfully, the Supreme Court didn't say it's okay. They said they're going to let it go into effect and it can be challenged again. I think they were basically saying that NetChoice didn't have enough evidence to say like that this is really going to affect them. Although Kavanaugh, and it's good that it was Kavanaugh.
So in effect, they were saying NetChoice didn't have standing?
I don't think it was. It's weirdly, I don't think it was
right.
standing. Yeah, basically it wasn't right, but it wasn't a standing issue. But he said they're overwhelmingly likely to succeed on the merits, which is a good sign. It just means like later on.
Yeah, it's pretty clearly a violation of the First Amendment, but I have no faith in the Supreme Court's desire to defend the First Amendment anymore.
It's good, though, that they said it after the Paxton decision.
It is good.
None of us were sure where things would go after they said age verification for porn and very, very broad. In a very broad way was okay. So after that, we weren't sure. But this is a good sign that it's not going to stand. But while you have the Trump administration and many parts of it, multiple Republican congressmen too saying, hey, what the hell is the UK doing? This is ridiculous and it's infringing on our rights. And like that law was the basis for COSA. But ironically, the comparison.
They're not saying don't do it. They're saying if you're going to do it, we should do it. You can't.
But
we don't want other people telling us what to do. That's our job. So COSA's back.
Yeah. So we don't know where that'll go. There's a lot of Senate drama that I don't even fully know, but there's like backbiting and fighting and stuff. So
it's on the calendar again.
Oh, it is? When did that happen?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. The latest action placed on Senate legislative calendar on June 30th. So it's
I think we're okay.
It's reported out of committee.
The drama happened since then, so it might be okay.
Walt. But I don't think what Tulsi Gabbard is saying is we don't want to do it either. I think she's just saying the EU can't do it to our companies.
I'm not sure yet. The way it's going, they seem pretty pissed about the way it's working. And I think they think the bills we have here are different. So me and other people are trying to remind them, like, these are the same things.
Not different.
Yeah, I mean, it does raise this question, like, how will Truth Social or Rumble comply with it, right? So there is, I mean, I like Will Hoyt's law that conservatism consists of the proposition that there are some people who, there's an in-group whom the law protects but does not bind, and an out-group whom the law binds but does not protect.
It's one of the greatest quotes ever. I just memorize it. Yeah.
And I do think that this is where Trump nets out, and the folks running Rumble and whatnot is that, well, we're never going to see Kash Patel or what's her name, the Pam Bondi coming after us over this. We'll be insulated from it. It'll just be the woke social media that will get punished for.
Well, nothing's more woke than Mastodon.
Except for Truth Social, which is
running on Mastodon, I know, illegally. Yeah. It's $10,000 per user fine. Pretty quickly would bankrupt me. It's a terrifying notion. I think the smart thing to do would be for me to shut down all of our social stuff.
There are graveyards of sites that have gone down because of the UK Online Safety Act already. Long running, decades-long community forums.
Yeah, there's a famous Fixie site that went down.
Yeah, for Renault owners and stuff. Like just and where are they relocating to? Facebook, right? And this was the argument we had over the Stopa Pippa, or not Stopa Pippa. Sesta Fosta, the thing that bans that notionally bans sex trafficking online, but has on the one hand just banned all sex work online, even consensual sex work, and on the other hand has driven a bunch of forums that couldn't assure themselves that they weren't violating Sesta Fosta, has driven them to Facebook. So all the people who say, oh, if we just get rid of Section 230 and we make the platforms liable for the speech that they host, they will behave themselves, are acting as though the internet is in its final form, and we will never have another kind of online platform, and that the companies that currently run the internet, the 5 giant websites filled with screenshots of text from the other 4, are the last masters the internet will ever have, and there's no point in even imagining a better future.
The EFF, of course, has a piece that came out this month. The UK's Online Safety Act does not make children safer. So even the proposed benefit of these bills doesn't accrue. It's bad all round. It doesn't do the job it's supposed to do, and it really inhibits social networks in general, unless you're big enough like Meta. Meanwhile, Meta is making chatbots, sexy chatbots, for the children. They've recently said, okay, we'll stop doing that. But
yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing, but it would be great if they stop tempting fate. And it's not even tempting fate. It's like I don't know what's more aggressive than tempting fate. That's really
making a landing strip for it, hiring air traffic control to direct it in.
It's so freaking ridiculous. I saw that and it was one of those things I had to look away from, because I just didn't have the emotional energy to handle that they would do something so ridiculous and horrible and then also put it in writing. They just put all the stupid crap you're doing in writing.
It's so amazing that his MO is still, after so many years, I guess it's move fast and break things, but it's do bad things, then apologize afterwards. Like, oh, we didn't mean to do that.
I think that it's more like it's put incriminating evidence in writing. This is a man whose 2 a.m. memos exclusively consist of things like, okay, Bob, that guy we're going to kill, just so you know, it's a murder and I'm definitely premeditating it. Your pal Zuck. Love to Margie and the kids.
Meta says it's changing the way it trains its AI chatbots to prioritize teen safety. It will now train chatbots to no longer engage with teenage users on self-harm, suicide, disordered eating, or potentially inappropriate romantic conversations. But that's not all. These chatbots are often impersonating well-known celebrities without their permission. It's mind-boggling.
I thought the celebrities were impersonated with their permission, because I know some of them had deals. Not that they were consenting to all the stuff being said, but I thought the personality part was consensual.
Some of them were, but not Taylor Swift's, Selena Gomez's, Anne Hathaway, or Scarlett Johansson. As we know,
oh my God,
Scarlett Johansson, who's probably the most powerful woman in Hollywood, has very clearly said she didn't want OpenAI to use her voice. She doesn't like this idea. The chatbots Reuters discovered during its investigation were available on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. At least one of them was based on an underage celebrity and allowed the tester to generate a lifelike, shirtless image of the real person. The chatbots also apparently kept insisting they were the real person they were based on in their chats. One chatbot invited the Reuters reporter to visit them at. The chatbot was based on Taylor Swift, to visit them at the real Taylor Swift's home in Nashville. Do you like blonde girls, Jeff? The chatbot reportedly asked when told the tester was single. Maybe I'm suggesting that we write a love story about you and a certain blonde singer. Want that? Now, of course, they didn't tell the chatbot to do this. This is the kinds of things AI does all the time because it's trained on everything.
The dialogue is terrible too. It's it sounds like it's not even trained on Taylor Swift or focusing on how she talks. Could you imagine Taylor Swift talking like that? A cheesy, I don't know, maybe 70s movie?
Well, and back to our previous discussion, so that this is heralding a future in which the really high quality handmade smut of Archive of Our Own disappears because they can never afford the compliance. But there's just an infinitude of slop smut.
Slop smut. Yeah.
That's just produced by, it's the most cringe, awful, mundane crap, and then we train like a generation of Andrew Tate-pilled boys to think that that's what smut should look like.
That's not a good future. The company told Reuters, Meta told Reuters, the product lead only created the celebrity bots for testing, but then Reuters found out they were widely available. Users were even able to interact with them more than 10 million times. Pretty big test, I guess.
Life finds a way.
Yes. Straight out of Jurassic Park. Okay. Slop Smut. That would be a good name for a book, Corey. Chat room suggesting you might want to think
I have
about.
enough books. I have literally I've got 2 books coming out this fall.
Wow.
3 coming out next year.
Are we going to see any more Marty Hench novels? I'm ready for more forensic.
I got to. I don't know when I'm going to write one, but I got to. I've got.
See, when you start a series like that
on the drawing board.
Yeah.
If I survive this year, I'll probably write another one. I won't be like a dad, right? I won't be busy being a dad, so I can.
All the time in the world. Oh, sure. Yeah. That's how it happens. Tell them all about it, Lou.
Oh, yeah. I got so much time on my hands. They're literally knocking at my door right now. So,
yeah, I saw that. I saw you jump up and slam it shut. UK's demand for Apple's backdoor may have been broader than previously thought. By the way, the only indication that we have at all that the UK has backed down on this is Tulsi Gabbard's tweet,
yeah,
which has never been verified or backed up, and frankly, I don't think is all that credible. They have yet to withdraw their order for Apple to create a backdoor to iCloud accounts, not just for UK citizens, but for all. The Investigatory Powers Tribunal has submitted a new legal finding, according to Engadget, saying they're demanding Apple to create a backdoor that will access even more data. This is from the Financial Times. The UK Home Office hasn't withdrawn the request, despite what Tulsi Gabbard has claimed. Here's the Financial. Oh, I got to log in. Financial Times has a hard paywall. Anyway.
Although archive.is will
I know.
will bypass it
I know, but I pay for the Financial Times. I don't know why, but I pay for it. I like to support.
I like them. They shortlisted me.
Yeah, that's right. They're you know what? That Cory Doctorow book, that's a good book. That's a good book, FT. I say that as a paying subscriber.
I should say they long listed me. I have not yet been shortlisted.
Oh, okay. The legal finding on which the FT has seen indicates the UK government sought access to not just the Apple's enhanced encryption, their advanced encryption, but to their standard iCloud service as well, which, by the way, Apple has the keys to. So, Apple has already handed those keys over or information over to the U.S. government with lawful subpoenas. So there's no reason for them to, fight for that one. All right.
Well, going back to Blue Sky Mastodon,
yes.
Blue Sky is technically not available in Mississippi, but
easy to get to with a VPN, right?
Well, and if you run your own Blue Sky instance, which my system is setting up right now for me, you are available in Mississippi, and also everything on Blue Sky is available as an RSS feed in Mississippi. And if you use an alt client, you can access it in Mississippi.
Well, this is the challenge, isn't it?
Well, it's, things that are not technically possible can't be litigated or can't be legislated. So, one of the things that, we often say is that, like, when you create the mechanism for, say, a backdoor, you invite someone to make a law saying you should have a backdoor. And, if you standardize a backdoor or whatever, then people say, oh, you should just adhere to the standard. But, the alternative to that is that things that can't be done technically can't be ordered legally. And so you end up having a much higher burden, right? Like, what you end up doing is creating these administrative burdens on states that want to shut down speech that require a whole raft of tactics that start to look a lot more like Chinese Great Firewall stuff, where you have to use trusted computing to control which apps you can install. You have to have extensive block lists for your national ISPs. You have to, you have a lot of stuff that you're going to have to do that may make lawmakers think twice, because it turns a relatively modest or modest seeming legal proposal into a very extensive one. Like, are they going to search people at the border and make sure they don't have VPNs installed on their phones? Like, how are they going to make that work?
Right.
Well, to that end, Corey said something that I try to communicate to lawmakers, but he said it a lot more eloquently and a lot more comprehensively than I've been able to. But the VPN thing is a really big deal. Like in the UK, I don't know how serious they are, but there's government officials like kind of saying, oh, well, what if we ban them? Or what if we age verified VPNs, which is insane.
Oh my God.
But, one of the things in my age verification series was why VPNs make this impossible. Like you can't account for all VPN traffic, but lawmakers have told me, no, that's silly. Of course you can. Like, of course, if you try hard enough.
They do in China, Shoshana. They do nerd harder. Yes.
Yeah, it's the nerd harder thing. But now they're finding out you can't. Like in the UK, it's just not working. And I love
1,500% jump in the use of VPNs in the UK the day the law went into effect.
And they say if you use a VPN, you're protecting children, which doesn't make sense because if you're not a child, it like doesn't matter. It's just like the most ridiculous stuff. And our lawmakers haven't gone that way yet and started to talk like that. But you kind of wonder when they see the failures, if they'll be like, oh, well, of course we need to age verify VPNs. And
I need to take a break. I'm going to take a break, but I want to ask Corey about Blue Sky.
Before you go on the break, if we just swallow the spider to catch the fly, I'm sure it'll all be fine.
But then she has a spider inside her, and she had to spot. What did she swallow to catch the spider? A bird. Oh, okay.
But that'll be the last.
That's it. It's over there, right? The bird.
Fine.
Yeah. It's either that or if you give a mouse a cookie. It's one or the other. I know. Yeah. Children's books often have the answer that adults seem to struggle with. We're going to take a break. I do want to ask you about Blue Sky because the last few times you've been on, you've said, I'm going to staying on X. I'm going to ride X all the way down. It's my Anatevka. But maybe that's not the case anymore. We will talk more. Our guests. Lou, we're going to give you something. I'm going to get you in the conversation somehow. Poor Lou. I know you're engaged and listening and interested in all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'll find a story for you, Lou.
No.
All I did was ask you about Microsoft.
I have an opinion about the Blue Sky one, so come to me on that for sure.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Lou Maresca's here. Great friend of the network, longtime host of This Week in Enterprise Tech. Love Lou. He's just fantastic and now leads the Excel Copilot integration at Microsoft. He's the guy who put Python in your spreadsheet. Two great tastes that go together, ladies and gentlemen. It's really nice to have you, Lou. Shoshana Weissman is also here, rstreet.org. Is it a hard thing to be a lobbyist these days? Is it harder than it was?
So I don't lobby. I just yell at government officials and say nice things about them. It's technically different. No, it's hard because people just want to do what they want to do more than ever. And I think there's less room to be convinced in some cases, but there's also more room if you really look for it. So like it's different and it's worse and better. And I'm trying to like find not just the silver linings, but the nuance and everything.
Good on you. You're such an optimist. You're so positive. I'm
depending
glad.
on the day. Some days I'm like, screw this. Like, oh my gosh, I should just like go find a way to be a hiker.
I want to go hike.
And like that's it. Yeah.
Go hike with my marmots. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're fighting the good fight, though, Shoshana. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I'm trying. And I'm trying to work with everyone. And so far, I haven't pissed off any large cohort of people, which is good.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. And, of course, the wonderful Cory Doctorow, his new book, Enshittification, is going audio. And if you want to support his DRM-free audio, go to Kickstarter, search for Enshittification, or you can go directly to disenshittification.org. He's the man who coined the term. Also, do watch that very nice talk you did at the CloudFront or
Cloudfest.
I can never get it right. CF. At CF. Yeah. It's a great talk in Stuttgart. And they love him.
It was in Europa Park, which is the fake Disneyland outside of Stuttgart.
Oh, wow.
It was great. In the Enshittification audiobook and ebook and all the books I sell on my online store and on Kickstarter, which I sell on behalf of my publishers, so like Macmillan and Verso and so on. But I sell them not only without DRM, but without license agreements. So it's pretty much the only way you can buy an ebook and not license it. So you can sell it, you can give it away, you can lend it out. If you get divorced, you can divide it up. You can go in your
you get pages, you get the odd pages, I'll take the even pages.
That's right. But it's a thing you own, right? Unlike every digital asset you've bought, it's a thing you own.
God, it's such a good fight, and I hope you continue to make that fight, because the rest of us, it's just turned us into pirates. We're just using, Caliber, or I found Libation to free my Audible books, and you're just turning us into pirates. But that's what we need to do.
Creating a lot of potential criminal liability. I'm not saying you're necessarily at risk, but trafficking in those tools carries a $500,000 fine and a 5-year prison sentence under Section 12(1) of the DMCA. Yep. And so, sure, you're not facing any liability. But when I talked about this at the U.S. Copyright Office triennial hearing at UCLA, and I think it was 2018, I pointed out that everyone who'd been at this UCLA boardroom giving presentations using VLC over the week, had been using a version of VLC that had DCSS code for ripping DVDs in it, and that the kid who brought the laptop into the room was a trafficker in circumvention tools and could go to prison for 5 years. And maybe we should be rethinking this law rather than having hearings about making narrow exemptions to it that no one can figure out how to use.
It didn't persuade them, unfortunately.
Well, that
actually
office came up and told me she thought I was right, but that it was in Congress's hands and not hers. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's always in Congress's hands. Actually, VLC ended up taking that DCSS code out of VLC and just telling you how to put it in later.
Yeah.
Which was their way around that. It's
but telling you how to put it in later is traffic.
That's also, yeah. We can do it. We just can't tell anybody how. That's a secret. Sigh. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. You know what? If you're hiring, first of all, good on you. It's wonderful. You're creating jobs, but I know it's also hard. When we've been in that situation, it can be overwhelming. It's like you have too many options, like trying to figure out which TV show or movie to stream when you're on vacation and you want to see the sites. It's just too much. There's too much to do, right? Same applies if you're a business owner who's hiring. It can be overwhelming to have too many candidates to sort through, but you're in luck. ZipRecruiter now gives you the power to proactively find and connect with the best ones quickly. How? Well, this is through their innovative resume database. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/twit. So this is how it works. ZipRecruiter's resume database. And by the way, they get hundreds of thousands of new resumes every month, because people go to ZipRecruiter looking for work. So their resume database uses advanced filtering to hone in on the top candidates for your roles. They look at the qualifications you're looking for, they're looking at the resumes they have, and they're making the matches. If you see a candidate you're really interested in, you can unlock their contact info instantly. They get 320,000 new resumes every month, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill roles faster. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2. Skip the candidate overload. Instead, streamline your hiring with ZipRecruiter. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/twit, right now to try it for free. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. So I did not know that Blue Sky. So Blue Sky's protocol, the @proto, is in theory a federated protocol. In theory, somebody could set up a Blue Federatable. Yes.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, nobody was doing it. Nobody had done it. Nobody had. So, but you're saying now you can, or you've got something?
Yeah. So it started a few months ago. The CTO of, so here was the thing. In order to do true federation, which is to say where you did not need to have any infrastructure controlled by the Blue Sky company in order to communicate with the Blue Sky users, you needed to run a kind of server that was very expensive to operate, to the tune of tens of millions of dollars a year.
What?
And that was to was to ingest the whole fire hose and do things like give you real-time read counts and comment counts on your posts.
So you had to run, in effect, an equivalent
you had to run Blue Sky. Yeah. So if you ran Blue Sky, you could run Blue Sky. You could run another Blue Sky.
Right.
And that it would be co-equal with Blue Sky, hypothetically. But the CTO figured out that if you were willing to take like a relatively small latency hit in terms of those counts, those like real-time counts, So if you didn't care about knowing how many people had read a post plus or minus 10 seconds, and you didn't need it to be plus or minus 10 milliseconds, it would go to like $30 a month, and you could run it off the Raspberry Pi. And he built that for himself and published some recipes. And so there's a thing called Black Sky, which is people who are kind of refugees from Black Twitter, who've built a Blue Sky, a federated Blue Sky standalone system. I don't think that's them.
I pulled
tried
up the
Black
wrong
Sky,
thing.
Blue Sky.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And there are a few others. And
I follow the Black Sky list, but this is not the list. This is actually their own server, which is great.
It's their own stand. I might be getting out over my skis. My impression was they were their own server. Maybe they started as I think they are their own. Maybe they're just a moderation layer. But
no, yeah, look at there it is. Black Sky, an AT protocol implementation built in Rust.
Yeah, there
prioritizing the community building efforts of marginalized groups.
There you go. So my server, my sysadmin server at a colo in Toronto was like 15 years old, and he couldn't get Mastodon.
Your sysadmin is 15?
No. The server is 15 years.
Oh, okay. All right.
And
no,
so,
I wouldn't be surprised.
It was fine. No. He's a great guy. He used to be the CTO of Wikimedia. Ken Snyder. He's a brilliant admin.
Oh, okay.
And he needed to upgrade his hardware. So he upgraded his hardware a couple of weeks ago. And now we are building fedi.pluralistic.net and bsky.pluralistic.net.
Will it be public or is it just you?
No, just me. I'm going to own my stuff.
A lot of people do that with Mastodon. They just run their own Mastodon instance for them.
Yeah. And Mastodon, it's interesting because, well, Blue Sky, in its current iteration, this kind of breakthrough on reducing server load has made it quite practical to run your own server. If you have a relatively high readership Mastodon account, hosting your own server is pretty intense. Yeah. Because every person who reads your stuff gets a copy of it. And so your server gets really hammered. We're having to do like CDNs and stuff. So, it's that we are getting like true federation in both. I'd always said that I wouldn't go to Blue Sky if I couldn't leave.
Right.
That I didn't want to be in a situation where, like I was with Twitter, where I built up 500,000 followers. It was like structurally important to my ability to sell books and get people out for book tours and, take care of the financial well-being of my family and promote the stuff I work on EFF and so on. I wouldn't ever put that at the mercy of someone because I knew the people who started Twitter. They were nice. And then I got stuck there. And
it turned into a Nazi bar.
Yeah. And so it's not enough to trust the personalities of the people that you have. And that's kind of the thesis of Enshittification, is that Enshittification is not about people being bad. It's about bad people being unshackled. Mark Zuckerberg ran a better service when he worried about the consequences of the service being bad.
Right.
And now that he's too big to fail, he's too big to care. And he can do bad things to us. And, he knows that we're locked in. He knows that you love your friends more than you hate Mark Zuckerberg. And so long as he makes sure that he never makes you hate him more than you love your friends, he can torment you. And he can torment you for money, not because he's a sadist, although I think he probably is, but because it's profitable.
Good. Well, so does this mean that you'll use Blue Sky and Twitter both?
No, I'll be off Twitter. Twitter's gone now. I mean, the last thing I was hanging in for was promoting the Enshittification Kickstarter. So one of the things I do with these Kickstarters when I launch them is I go to my DMs and I look at all the people who have opened DMs to me that I know, and I send them a DM and say, hey, would you mind quote tweeting the announcement of this? And that's been really successful. It's made the difference between successful campaigns and not. And of all the weird things that Musk has broken with Twitter, if you go to your DMs and you type like Mike, none of the people whose names come up are people you follow or who follow you. It's just famous people named Mike. And most of them don't have open DMs. I don't know what that's supposed to do. It used to be also that you could get an infinite scroll of DMs. So if you type Mike, you could see everyone who had open DMs to you whose name was Mike. Now you just get like 12, and they're all just like Mike Cernovich. And like people you don't want to talk to, who don't want to talk to you, who you don't follow and who don't follow you. And you can type the full name of people you follow and it won't come up. You have to type their exact Twitter handle. So this is bizarre, but it's meant that the last thing that I was hanging onto Twitter for, which is like, okay, well, this is one way to get an extra 5,000 backers for my Kickstarter campaigns. It's not even useful for that anymore. And so that's it. When the blue sky's up, I'll just park that Twitter account. Yeah.
Right. Blue Sky, according to Ars Technica, is now the platform of choice for the science community. Yeah. Lou, you said you had something. Are you a Blue Sky fanatic?
I actually enjoy Blue Sky. I think my point of view here, though, goes in the fact that, I think we should decouple the whole idea of science knowledge dissemination and conversation to platforms and stick with where the masses are at, where you can share information and knowledge. And I still think Twitter is the place to be. I do agree that Blue Sky is probably a better platform, but I think I'm still kind of under the guise that most like
you got to be where the people
science.
Are.
Yeah. I mean, international science, people are not going to be, I don't want to do on Twitter. They know where that masses are at. They're going to keep posting there. Why restrict that for yourself? As
they should, because that information needs to get out. I mean, we now have a Make America Healthy plan that apparently means give kids whole milk and don't give them vaccines. And the science needs to get out. We basically got an anti-science government. So yeah, I mean, the problem always to me has been the people who are. It's not everybody on Twitter or everybody on X or everybody on Blue Sky. It's still a small fraction of the total audience, and this is one of the problems with getting the word out these days. Is there is no central place to get the word out anymore.
Get it blasted everywhere. Have to blast it everywhere.
Put it everywhere.
Right.
That's the solution, huh?
Yeah.
Posse. Post on site, share everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I do. I have a microblog blog that posts to all of the above. Not Twitter, because they don't have an API that you can use, but everywhere that does. And that's an interesting question. If I could post on X, if I would. I'm not sure if I would or not. I moved off X the minute Elon bought it, and my predictions were validated. I will give, we give Elon a lot of crap. I'll give him some credit, or at least the engineers that are working at SpaceX some credit. They had a very successful launch over on Wednesday, or was it Tuesday? It was Tuesday, and the Starship didn't blow up, so that's good.
Very good for the people who live underneath it.
Yes, very good if you're in the Caribbean. That rocket will not come down on your head. And it was pretty impressive. It was fun to watch. I watched it. I'm a space guy. I like this kind of stuff. I grew up watching Walter Cronkite and the Man on the Moon and all of that stuff. So credit where credit's due. Although I guess it really doesn't go to Elon.
Do you know what I find amazing is just how mediocre the technology on Twitter has become, right? Just things like if you are posting a thread, it used to be that you could post the first 25 and then click on the last one and post more, post another 25. Right. And now when you click on the last one, it says an unexpected error occurred.
There's a lot of little breaking things going on there, especially logging in. And if you lose your account, people are complaining like crazy about how to get back on and so forth. It's just
it's regressions. It's regressions, which is really interesting because this is stuff that just worked and it doesn't work anymore. Right. My guess is that a lot of it is saving money. That I think the reason they've broken people search in DMs is because you're running a really big set of open looping queries through a directory, and I think they were just like, oh, that's hitting us for a lot of compute. You just don't need to find people to DM them. You can just suck it up. You either know people's exact handle or you don't, but don't count on DMing anyone.
Right. Well, as Elon tweeted, or whatever they call it now, as he posted on X earlier today, X is the media now because you are the media now, whatever the hell that means.
I think that the verb for posting on X now is shitted.
He pooped on X. X. You're talking X. It sounds bad, but it's not. It's XITTED. X. Yeah. Zitted. It's turned into TikTok. At least in the For You part of it is all videos now. It's Kind of interesting how that's changed. We're streaming on X right now. I mean, we're also streaming on TikTok. We're streaming on Facebook and LinkedIn. There's 800 people watching us on a variety of platforms. I'm agnostic about that. I think you're right, Lou. Be wherever people want you to be. That's always been my motto for this.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
That's the idea of podcasting. It's open and like that. I will give some credit to the FCC, which rarely deserves credit in the Brennan Carr era, but the folks at the National Association of Broadcasters went to the FCC and said, you should charge cable-style regulatory fees on streaming services and tech companies and broadband providers while you're at it. And the FCC said, that really isn't our mandate, is it? Actually, what they really said is we don't have the budget or the manpower to do that. But it's also, frankly, not one of the things the FCC has always said is if Congress doesn't give us that authority, we can't do it. And that's really the real reason. The FCC is to regulate the nation's airwaves, not broadband providers, streaming services, and tech companies. The NAB, which is a broadcasting, lobbying group. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that, there's a constitutional question as well. The argument for regulating speech on air, which includes things like levying fees and having a licensure regime, is that the spectrum is a scarce resource.
Right.
And, so,
and it's public. It's a public resource.
Yeah. So you just couldn't, in the same way that, you're going to have rules for like who can use the meeting room at the library, because if everyone tries to use it at the same time, it is the public's meeting room. Everyone can use it, but you just have rules about who can use it and how, because otherwise no one would get to use it. But that argument is just not the case for broadband, right? There's just not the case for online services. And so the argument that somehow there is a way that you could square the circle of the First Amendment and regulating, the internet is crazy. At least the way that they regulate broadcast providers, and the cable stuff that they regulate is it's a compulsory license for broadcast signals. So when cable started, it was guys with antennas in central Pennsylvania who sold TVs, who ran cables from the antenna to people's houses, to people who bought TVs, so that they could receive signals because they were too far from both Pittsburgh and Philly to get their signals. And so after a bunch of lawsuits, they said, okay, fine, anyone can rebroadcast any broadcast television on a cable, but you have to pay a set fee. So that's where those fees come from. If you're not retransmitting broadcast signals, why would you pay broadcast signal fees?
Yeah. The National Association of Broadcasters says, well, you tech companies benefit from the FCC's regulatory regime, so you should pay for it. It's like, it's nonsense. It's just broadcasters grasping at anything they can with their fingers as they slide down the wall of life. Well, let's talk a little bit about Cloudflare, because I think this is an interesting story. Cloudflare got a lot of attention. I've been a fan of Cloudflare for a long time. They give away free services that are very valuable, but increasingly, they seem to want to become kind of almost the police of the internet. And a couple of weeks ago, we talked a lot about it. They dinged Perplexity for ignoring their, high quality robots.txt AI scraping blocking. And I think maybe misunderstood a little bit of what the difference is between, say, Perplexity and OpenAI, but Perplexity defended themselves. It kind of went on. But increasingly, it's looked like Cloudflare is almost in a power grab. And I'm really curious what you all think about it. They have a new thing called signed agents. Essentially, they have an allow list. This is a post from Positive Blue for the open web, and told builders to apply for permission. Cloudflare, he says, is solving the issue like a border checkpoint. Get on their list or get treated like a trespasser. And I think Positive Blue makes a very good point. Cloudflare is saying now we are going to be in charge of who's on the open web and who's not. Is that overreach? Lou, do you have an opinion on this one? Please.
I think it's overreach. I do think it's overreach. I think they, obviously they're trying to restrict something. Obviously, restrict any type of internet and content on the internet. They're trying to act as a censor. This is just overreach in general.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like Cloudflare, and I'm kind of a fan of them, but I have to say this does not seem like a good direction that they are now moving in. Shoshana, you're nodding.
Yeah, I've just been really confused by a lot of their moves. Even before this, they've been going after other tech companies, and I know tech companies will do that, but it was weird because they just really hadn't before, and it seemed like they were just out to pick some fights. And a lot of the stuff, I don't remember exactly what it was because it was like a month ago, and I was like, I don't know what the hell this is, but it seems like they're just not sure of their place, and they want to assert themselves, or they see an opportunity for themselves to be more powerful, and they're asserting themselves. But it's some weird stuff, and I'm not sure what their end goal is, but if they go down the route that it sounds like from the stuff that you read off, it doesn't sound like people will like them very much.
They almost sound like they're setting up themselves as the one and only certificate authority in a way. And they're solving a problem. I don't know if it really needs to be solved. I'm as we were talking with Posse, I'm a big fan of the open web. I think the open net is a vital thing. And I don't think we need a gatekeeper to be in charge of who's who on the open internet. Yeah, it might solve some problems, but it doesn't solve the problems that they say they're solving. Corey, have you been following this?
Yeah, I have. And, I have similar feelings about Cloudflare in that they have taken stands for good in the past and been particularly adamant that providing anti-DDoS, that being an anti-DDoS provider should not make you the first port of call or even the last port of call for people who had qualms about the content on the other side of the anti-DDoS wall. They were very concerned that they would become a choke point and then become a natural landing spot for anyone who was angry at anyone else on the internet for good reasons or bad, and that people would just show up at Cloudflare and say, withdraw your protection from these people. Right. And then they will cease to exist, to all intents and purposes.
Very much like the Spanish soccer league is doing with DNS providers and ISPs.
Exactly.
To protect themselves from piracy, they're saying, well, pull down the piracy sites. It's your job.
This is the problem of monopoly. And we talked about John Sherman before. So John Sherman, gave this very famous speech in 1890 when he was stumping for the Sherman Act. He said, if we would not tolerate a king, we should not tolerate an autocrat of trade. With the power to fix the price of commodities and to decide who can get them, right? Basically, the problem is only part of a benevolent dictator is only partly that they might not turn out to be benevolent. Even if they remain benevolent, they're still a dictator. And that you can be benevolent and still be wrong. You can be benevolent and still be pressurized, right? You're the one throat to choke. So people will come to you and make demands of you. And also, the instant we start to treat infrastructure as a vehicle for policy objectives, everybody begins to make a claim on that infrastructure, and it ceases to be trustworthy as infrastructure. So there's a really good book about this called Underground Empire by Henry Farrell and Abraham Newman, a couple of political scientists. I've known Henry forever. He and Aaron Swartz and I worked on stuff together. And Henry and Abraham, their thesis is that the U.S. under Obama first, or maybe under GW, and then under Obama, started to take infrastructure that the U.S. operated that was seen as a kind of neutral broker. So like ICANN or the SWIFT dollar clearing system or fiber head ends. And they began to use them to try and attain U.S. policy goals. So sanctioning people, spying on fiber, getting ICANN to deny or permit certain kinds of IP allocations, that kind of thing, in order to achieve policy goals. And what immediately happened, or what eventually happened, was that everyone who had treated things like dollar clearing in the SWIFT system or fiber or whatever as a neutral, trustworthy piece of infrastructure that was territory that wouldn't be tilted to one advantage or another, stopped fully trusting it. And now we see a fragmentation, and we see new fiber going in. We see people seeking alternatives to dollar clearing. Some of that, I think, is cryptocurrency, but also you have renminbi clearing becoming more central. So it not only has been sort of a problem for people who just want to get stuff done in the world. It's ironically, it's weakened the US's hold because it's spurred the creation of these alternative systems. Same thing happened when Europe put up its own GPS constellation, when the US started to talk about disabling GPS for military rivals. And so Europe put up its a rival GPS constellation, which then sort of takes away the US's ability to use that power. I do think that they're playing with fire. I think people have treated Cloudflare as a neutral, honest broker, and now they're going to see them as a parochial self-dealer.
Yeah.
I also think that it shows us why antitrust was right from the Gilded Age to the 70s, when it treated the concentration of power per se as a problem, even if it was being used to good ends.
Even
because
benign.
The concentration, even a benevolent dictator is still a dictator. And how the theories of the Reagan Revolution, the consumer welfare theory that said that so long as a monopoly isn't raising prices or lowering quality, they should not only be tolerated but encouraged as a source of efficiency, that was wrong, that it created teams that were more powerful than the ref, and it made them ungovernable. And also, ironically, for people who believed in the Reagan Revolution, militated for a much larger state. Because even if you think that the only thing the state should do is enforce contracts, the state has to be bigger than the parties to those contracts in order to enforce them. So the smallest state you can have is determined by the largest corporation you're willing to tolerate.
I love the notion that infrastructure needs to be agnostic. It needs to be neutral. I mean, that's what net neutrality is all about. And we're starting to see some issues where it isn't. I mean, Cloudflare is just as a small example of this. Intel, for instance, is a little upset that the federal government has taken a 10% equity in their company, saying it could trigger adverse reactions because they're now no longer, kind of a neutral chip manufacturer. They have a policy, implication here that the same thing happened. It was very interesting to see Nvidia suddenly couldn't sell the H20 chip into China because people were concerned about a backdoor in the H20 that it could be disabled. And what happened? Huawei started to make their own GPUs, and China stopped buying Nvidia's GPUs, which is another reason Nvidia's probably hurting in the stock market. I think that's a really important point, that infrastructure needs to be neutral, needs to be a pipeline, not make policy decisions. I don't know if the Intel one fits that model exactly, but
I think related. That Intel is sort of national. It's being turned into what the Europeans call national champions.
Yeah, that's not good.
We see that people all over the world don't want to get their Huawei in their national infrastructure because they think that China treats it as a national champion. Sure.
So we're going to have golden shares in our companies, I guess. Just like
ironically, I think that some of the good that could come of this is stuff like Eurostack, where we're seeing, the EU funding open source development and doing things like loans for infrastructure, low-cost loans for infrastructure and state investment to build clouds to rival the American cloud, so that they can move off of U.S. infrastructure, because Trump has made it really clear that he views it as a vehicle for attaining political goals of the United States. What I think would be really interesting is if they decided to get rid of anti-circumvention laws, the laws that ban jailbreaking, because honestly, how are you going to get your firm off of Office 365 if you don't have a migration tool? And to get that migration tool, you're going to have to scrape, you're going to have to jailbreak, you're going to have to do a bunch of things that the U.S. Trade Representative told Europe that they had to put on their law books, or they would face tariffs from the U.S. Well, now that they have the tariffs, why wouldn't they get rid of those laws?
Not that anybody, Lou, would ever want to get out of Microsoft 365. It's a fabulous, fabulous product, and we all appreciate the work
that it is.
You do.
Even if you love it, I think the way to make sure that it stays good is to make sure that Microsoft is worried about people leaving.
Leave it open.
That's what makes people If your customers can't leave, you don't treat them well. Anyone who has ever bought a bottle of water at an airport knows this.
Yeah, that's Enshittification, literally in the flesh. Cory Doctorow is here, and so is Shoshana Weissman from rstreet.org and Lou Maresca. We won't mention what Lou does for a living at this point. No, he is leading Excel Copilot integration into Microsoft. Congratulations on the promotion, by the way. That's great news.
Thanks.
Yeah. Let's take a break. We'll come back with more in just a bit. Our show today brought to you by NetSuite. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts. You'll get 10 answers. Bull market? Maybe. Bear market? Rates will rise. Rates will fall. Inflation's up. Inflation's down. Can somebody please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 42,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. And with real-time insights and forecasting, you got your crystal ball. You're peering into the future with actionable data. And when you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backward and more time on what's next. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. Speaking of opportunities, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/twit. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/twit. netsuite.com/twit. We thank him so much for supporting This Week in Tech. netsuite.com/twit. I think it was kind of ironic that once the government took 10% stake in Intel, spending the money that had already been allocated to Intel in the CHIPS Act, by the way, that wasn't any new funds dedicated to that. They now say, oh, and by the way, those milestones that were in the CHIPS Act, you don't have to do that anymore. According to the Wall Street Journal, Intel has said in a filing it can now get money from the government as long as it can show it's already spent that money on projects. It's already spent it, so hey, we don't have to do anything else. But we've got 10%, and that's what matters. Gosh darn it. Moving right along.
I'm with Bernie Sanders in that I don't think it's crazy to say that a company that gets a lot of public money should have some public obligations. But that's not what Trump is doing here, right? Like, right. Intel has huge problems. They can no longer make chips, right? They're pretty reliant on TSMC for most of their best manufacturing, and so that's not going to get solved by Trump taking them over.
Although that money, I mean, could keep their foundry business alive a little longer, yes or no?
I mean, but the reason they're broke is because they spend it all on stock buybacks. There's nothing about Trump having a board seat that will stop them from doing more of those stock buybacks either. So, I mean, when you have a company that's structurally important to the nation and the state intervenes to make sure that it's run well, that's like not necessarily insane, provided it's done well. But I don't have any confidence that Trump is going to do it well. And he has not announced any plans apart from having a share in it to, make it invest in foundries, to improve its onshore production capacity. It's a purely like smash and grab some red meat for the base, move on, press the Diet Coke button a bunch of times, lose your focus, get weird about boogers on the Resolute desk from Elon Musk's kid, talk about something, grandpa-ish, and then hope nobody notices your hand bruises.
You got a lot in that sentence. That's good. I'm impressed. Actually, $1 trillion already this year in buybacks. What's wrong with buybacks? Stock shareholders love them, right? Apple buys back billions of dollars in its stock every year. Is that different from a dividend?
Yeah, because it moves the share price without changing the underlying fundamentals. That's why they were illegal.
Stock more valuable.
That's why they were illegal. They were considered stock. There was a stock swindle, right? Because the share price.
When did they become
reflect
legal?
the fundamentals.
Was that
It
under
was
Clinton?
a series of lawsuits, I think, in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, okay.
That broadened it. And then I think the SEC made a rule, and they made a rule where they're like, you can only do a good stock buyback and not a bad stock buyback. And the loophole for what is a good stock buyback is so malleable that basically all stock buybacks are now good stock buybacks. You just have to I think you have to say this stock buyback is good.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Well, it's good for the shareholder because it reduces the number of shares outstanding, which means your value of your share is higher than it was. Apple's doing $100 billion this year.
Shares should go up because companies do better.
Right.
A company that puts $80 billion into stock buybacks has $80 billion less to spend on the company's operations.
It's a little old-fashioned, Corey. I mean,
sure.
Yes. Look at GameStop. Well, you don't need a company to do well for its stock to go up. You're an old-time guy. I could see that right now.
Yes, but I mean, if you think that the reason to have a stock market is to allocate money to companies that are good, as opposed to
that seems
having
like a good
slot
idea.
Machine.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just replace. We are doing this.
We have crypto. That's what we have crypto for.
The stock market with a slot machine, I suppose. But if you believe that the reason to have stocks and public companies and limited liability, all the things that we have erected around the market, is to encourage allocation of capital to efficient firms, then having stock prices go up when firms don't do anything that increase their efficiency should be treated as a bug and not a feature.
All right, I got one for you, Lou. Microsoft unveiled 2 in-house AI models. These are speech generation systems, right? You say May or MAI? May Voice 1 and May 1 Preview.
You can see either. Yeah, I think they are, the interesting thing about this article is that they made it seem like Microsoft is not developing their own models on the go and for specific purposes. I think they use OpenAI for a purpose. Obviously, they have less stake in it and they are great models, but they're constantly developing these. And these are some just of the new ones.
There was Phi.
There's Phi all the way up to 5.4. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's actually one of the points that Karen Howe made in her book, Empire of AI. We're going to talk to her again on Monday, Labor Day tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. If you're in the club, you can watch it. Is that this was kind of Microsoft hedging its bets. Microsoft had its good foundation models and kind of believed that they were going to be successful, but putting a couple $100 million or billion, actually it was billions, into it was $10 billion over a few years into OpenAI just seemed like a good. It's better than buying back the stock.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, if you just go look at all of the research papers that are coming out that are signed by Microsoft researchers, they are foundational models in there. So, I mean, it's interesting.
May is a mixture of experts model trained on 15,000 Nvidia H100 GPUs. Is that on Azure? Does Azure have access to that many H100s? That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so this allows you to create expressive audio from text in your spreadsheet, for instance. Yes.
There you go.
Does it?
No, we don't use this in our right now. But I mean, we do use other models. I mean, they're, like I said, it's not just GPT-5, or GPT-4 or whatever model we utilize at the moment. But they are they are the most foundational models there are right now. So that's why we're using them.
What's the coding model you're using? Is it OpenAI's? Is it ChatGPT-5?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
So let's see. Here's an emotive voice. Rain. She's joyous. Let's see. She's going to generate a little.
Oh my goodness. I've been thinking a lot lately and it just keeps popping up in my mind. To be or not to be? Oh, wow. Isn't that such a big question?
Oh, geez, Louise. I didn't expect all of that. Okay. That's, I guess, interesting. Let's see. Oak can do it as a story. Let me see. Tomorrow, I'm giving them Shakespeare. Let's see how they do with Shakespeare. And tomorrow, like this show, creeps in its petty pace from day to day. Can't even imagine This is going to be a story mode. Let's see what it does. It says
In the heart of a dimly lit tavern, two weary travelers sat nursing their drinks. A knight, noble and gallant, pondered the relentless passage of time. Tomorrow and tomorrow. It creeps in its petty pace, does it not?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay, thank you very much. That's oak. We also have acacia, and acacia can be scared. Let's see what the scared voice sounds like. I like to play with these. I don't know what good they are.
To be or not to be? That is the question, isn't it? I mean, what if we choose to exist and yet face the horrors that life throws at us?
Life throws us. All right, enough of that. Anyway, that's May. She sounds very good.
They both sound good.
Yeah. May and oak and acacia.
You know, it's funny because I don't know if you know this, but in PowerPoint today, they can generate, narrations, and you can just
from your slides.
You can generate videos right off using, right in there. And I think the Clipchamp also does this now, which is I use that on a daily basis because I just
now. So if I use
my own voice,
maybe if I use ChatGPT to generate the slides, and then I could use Clipchamp to generate the voice, I wouldn't even have to give the talk. I could just mail it in.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Just. Hey, talk about whatever you want. I thought, Corey, you might have something to say about this. This has not happened yet, but Anthropic, as you remember, was sued over training data on copyright works. And while the judge held for Anthropic in the case where they actually bought the books and then scanned them and destroyed them afterwards, there were pirated texts as well. On Tuesday of this week, Judge Alsop confirmed that the authors and Anthropic have a settlement in principle, and on September 5th will file a motion for preliminary approval. Authors celebrate historic settlement coming soon. What do you think? You're an author.
Yeah. So I think that it's, I've got a whole 2 chapters on this in my new AI book that I finished this week.
I know.
But I think
you talked about it in Choke Point Capitalism as well.
That too. Yeah. I think it's important to break out what's going on here in terms of what is being alleged to be a copyright infringement, what is probably not a copyright infringement, what the court found wasn't a copyright infringement. So I am not a huge fan of the AI companies. I should say that at the beginning. And I do think that the fact that the AI companies have made such a kind of public show of trying to bankrupt creative workers by using their own materials is gross, especially when it is not actually a thing that they're going to run a business off of, but just a way to do a flashy demo. Because again, you bankrupt all the writers, all the illustrators, all the songwriters,
and then you got nothing.
Nothing.
What are you? What are you going to read next time? What are you going to look at next time? Yeah.
So I think that as a advocate for creative labor rights, and this is Labor Day weekend, I think we should focus on the things that will attain labor gains for creative workers. And I think that not only will adding copyright, a new copyright to control training of your works, not help creative workers, but I think that it will be quite damaging to lots of other sectors. So I don't think that it's a copyright infringement to train a model. And I think,
in fact, Alsop said it's fair use as long as they purchase the books. Yeah.
When you break it down, it's pretty clear why it's not, right? So making a transient copy of a work for an analytical purpose is legal. That's how we have search engines. Making an analysis of a work is also not an infringement. And this is where I think that it's important to note that I believe what Anthropic was worried about is not being told that training a model from an infringing copy of a work is an infringement. I think they're worried about being told that acquiring an infringing copy of a work is an infringement. So let me give you an analogy. You go to a flea market, you buy a pirate CD. You go home and you count all the adverbs in the lyrics on the music on that CD. Buying the pirate CD might be a copyright infringement. Counting the adverbs isn't. right? And so I think that what Anthropic wasn't worried, I don't think Anthropic was worried about being told that effectively counting the words in those books was illegal. I think they were worried about $150,000 per work statutory damage for downloading them in the first place. That's what I think they were worried about. And so
it's a victory for them in this case, because the books that they bought, the judge said, no, that's fair use. Reading absorbing those books was fine because you bought them.
Now, it's possible, and I think very likely, that you can make infringing works with a model. And I think that to the extent that Anthropic hosts the model and encourages certain uses or sells it for certain purposes, that it will produce infringing works that are too closely related to the works that it trained on.
That's what the New York Times asserts in its lawsuit against OpenAI, is that you wouldn't have to buy the Times. You could just ask ChatGPT what
I don't think that's an infringement. I think the infringement is actually copying words and phrases. The facts in a New York Times article are not infringing. It's not infringing to copy them. Facts aren't copyrightable.
Right.
So I don't think that. I think summarizing a New York Times story, the New York Times summarizes stories from other newspapers all day long. They don't really want a world in which you can't summarize a news article without permission. That would be crazy.
Right.
So there is a breaking news doctrine, but it's very, very thin. So I think that. But to get back to how we save creative workers, because I do think that it's gross the way these companies are operating, the U.S. Copyright Office is an agency that I've been on the opposite side of for this entire millennium.
You've always said that copyright protects the big companies that own the copyright, not the creators of the content.
I have disagreed with almost everything the U.S. Copyright Office has done since the turn of the century, and suddenly
it's nice that you can say that now, isn't it?
yeah. But I find myself now on the same side as the Copyright Office, because the Copyright Office has said on multiple occasions and gone to court and won that there is no copyright in works created by AIs.
Right. In fact, she got fired for saying that.
No, she got fired for saying that it was fair use to train.
Okay.
And also because she's black. They fired Carla Hayden because
that's really why she was fired. Yeah.
She was very good. But the thing is that to use a little bit of international copyright jargon, copyright inheres at the moment of fixation of a work of human creativity. So a new copyright springs into existence when a human being does something creative and makes a fixed record of it.
You don't have to make any legal filing to get a copyright. It's automatically
you have to be a human.
But you have to be a human.
You have to be a human. Monkey selfies, not copyrightable. Botch, not copyrightable. Slop, not copyrightable. So I think if we give creative workers the right to decide who can train a model with their works, we will make it hard to make search engines, to do computational linguistics. We will make new rules about who can publish certain things, because they're also saying that publishing the model should be illegal. And yet our publishers, there's 5 publishers that control all the books, 4 labels, studios that control all the movies, and 3 labels that control all the music. They will just say, fine, as a condition of doing business with us, you have to sign away this new training right that the courts or the legislature or the regulator have just given you, so that we can go to Anthropic, we can go to OpenAI, and we can hit them for a fee to train. We can require them to put guardrails in the model so that only we can make works that are competitive with our own. No one will compete with us by making these works. And then they'll fire as many of those creative workers as they can. Because the only thing that like Getty Images hates more than paying its workers is not having a copyright. And so if Getty Images wins its lawsuit, it's not going to be good news for photographers. The only thing that's good news for photographers is the existing rule, which is that there is no copyright in AI outputted images. And that is great news. It means anyone can take them and sell them. And it means that the only way to get a copyrighted work is to pay a worker to make it.
What happens though if an AI, say Midjourney, which is being sued for this, creates a image of Darth Vader?
That's infringing.
That's infringing because that's the equivalent of copying the text.
It could be. If it were, for a critical or a transformative purpose or whatever, then that's not necessarily infringing. But so what if you barf up a whole Star Wars episode that's just a Star Wars episode? Yeah, it's an infringing output, depending on the extent to which they were actually involved in the production of it. Did they incentivize people to do it? So
it's not transformative. The mere use of AI itself is not necessarily transformative. It does not automatically
is not
make
necessarily
it fair use.
transformative enough to qualify as fair use. Fair use is not merely about transformation. It's
right, other
the 4 factors and then like the gestalt of them all. So
right.
it's what they call a fact intensive doctrine. It's very difficult to say definitively something is or is not fair. But I'll tell you what, it's always legal to copy a public domain work, right? That's like not a thing we have any ambiguity about. And so if you're Getty and you want to make sure that people can't copy your stuff without paying you, keep paying photographers. That is the thing that we should all be keeping in mind, because that's what we want. You know, the day that Disney Universal sued Midjourney, I got a press release because I am, for some reason, on the RIAA's press list.
That might maybe Hillary Rosen's last act as she left.
So I get this press release, and you know, the RIAA or the record labels are not suing, but the record labels are the movie studios, right? Universal and Warner are number 1 and number 2 record labels, number 2 and number 3 movie studios. So the same companies. And Mitch Glazier, who's the CEO of the RIAA, makes $1.8 million a year, and who went to work for the RIAA after he got fired from Congress for putting slipping a rider in legislation that took away musicians' copyrights.
There's some irony there.
No, and gave them to record labels.
Oh, well, that's good.
So he got fired, and the RIAA hired him.
Yeah,
and are now
good job, Mitch.
$1.8 million a year. So this guy, this multimillionaire, writes to me in through the good offices of his press office and says, we are only angry that Midjourney didn't approach these companies for a license. He's not saying we don't want AI to produce videos that compete with Universal, Warner, whatever, with the livelihoods of the workers who work there. He's saying that they should pay Universal and Warner, not the workers, but Universal and Warner license fees, so that Universal and Warner can use these tools to fire their own workers.
Yeah, because they want to do it themselves. They would like to.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And so, you know, once you understand like the material basis for the AI bubble, then you can, these copyright questions become less difficult to kind of parse through. And we can stop, you know, worrying about like, oh, did someone scrape something? I mean, scraping stuff is good, right? Scraping is how that kid in Austria figured out that the 2 major grocery stores were colluding to rig prices, because he scraped their prices every week until he found that they were like raising their prices and lowering them in tandem. You know, it's scraping is how search engines exist. Scraping is how you get the version of the website from the company before they fired the guy who turned out to be a pedophile, where you find his bio where they say, we love this guy and it's great that he's working with children on our behalf, right? Like without scraping, we lose our ability to know anything about things on the internet unless the people who said them in the first place agree that we should know them. Scraping is amazing. So let's not get rid of scraping. Let's protect workers instead.
One more break, and then we will finish this. And I'm going to desperately find a story for you, Lou. I feel so bad. Unfortunately, all the stories have been in Corey's ballpark, in his right there in his ball yard. But we'll find some more to talk about. It's so nice to have you here, anyway, Lou. It's great to see you, and I know you're enjoying it. So
I am.
Yeah,
I got a big list of books to read you now.
I know. Me too. Everybody, by the way, should absolutely go to disenshittification.org, and you see, you've already raised more than enough to do an audio book. So
yeah. Yeah, no, it's although a lot of that is for pre-sales of the print book and the ebook.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's all one. It's all one Kickstarter.
I think there's still probably a few little copies. I make these weird collages for my blog, and I made a very high quality, very limited edition art book of my illustrations, and there's 15 copies left.
Ooh!
So
I might have to pick that one up.
Yeah, you've got.
People might look at Corey's pluralistic.net and say, oh yeah, AI. But no, these are manual collages.
That's me and the lasso tool and the GIMP.
And that's what's fun about him. He puts a lot of interesting effort into these, and always uses, of course, public domain artwork.
And CC images, yeah.
And CC images, because he's a good man that way. I also love, I don't know if people know about your Tumblr images from the atomic age.
Yeah.
Love that.
I'm the last ardent Tumblr user. Me and like 50 weirdos
What I don't know how you have time to do that. You just anytime you see something that comes from the that it fits
it's
that,
just meditative. It's just meditative. Yeah.
Okay. You're not actively looking for stuff.
I'll send you a blog post I wrote about it. There's a blog post called Divination about how it's like laying out a tarot deck where you take these images that come over your transom and then you try to make stories between them.
Oh, that's cool.
And I often get all kinds of weird little inspirations.
I actually do that. I have a random number generator in my Obsidian, and I will have it generate a random verse from the Tao Te Ching every day, and it's almost always on point. Because you know the vague.
Yeah, well, do you know the Oblique Strategies deck, Brian Eno's Oblique Strategies deck?
Yes.
So I use that all the time. Be the first person to not do something that no one else has ever thought of not doing before. That's like that's my motto.
It's just tapping into that part of your brain, I guess. Can you still buy the cards? I wonder.
Oh yeah, I have a limited edition deck, but I think you can just buy a regular old deck.
Oh, and there's a website. Here's a website that just randomly picks them.
That's right.
Yeah. Do something boring. Overtly resist change.
Like he brought these into the studio when recording Talking Heads albums and Roxy Music albums, and they use them to between takes and stuff. He's amazing.
Yeah.
In his last music video, he's in the opening scene. He's reading Red Team Blues, my novel.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Wow. That's an honor. That's fantastic. That's very cool. Our show today brought to you by Zscaler. Let's talk about cloud security. Let's talk about probably the gold standard in cloud security, zero trust. And let's talk about AI. That's what Zscaler does. AI is a really interesting issue for businesses because on the one hand, the bad guys are using it to attack you with more vigor and more efficiency than ever before, right? They are just miles ahead now, more relentless and effective attacks than ever before. But you're probably using both public and private AI in your business. It powers innovation. It drives efficiency. Organizations from small to large are leveraging AI to increase employee productivity with public AI for engineers, with coding assistants like Copilot, marketers with writing tools, finance is using AI to create spreadsheet formulas, and we know which spreadsheet they're using to do that, right? AI is being used to automate workflows for operational efficiency across individuals and teams. The companies are embedding AI into applications and services that are customer and partner facing, which helps them ultimately move faster in the market and gain competitive advantage. But you know who also is moving faster in the market? Hackers. AI is helping them too. Phishing attacks over encrypted channels increased this year by 34.1%. Why? Primarily the growing use of generative AI tools. Phishing is so much more effective nowadays because you can't just look at a phishing email and say, well, that's a grammatical nightmare. No, they're all perfectly written. They're very real looking. They look exactly like the AI emails you're getting from real companies. So what are you going to do? Companies have to rethink how they protect their private and public use of AI and how they defend against AI-powered attacks. And there is a way. Jeff Simon, Senior Vice President and Chief Security Officer at T-Mobile, talks about Zscaler. He said, quote, Zscaler's fundamental difference in the technologies and SaaS space is it was built from the ground up to be a zero trust network access solution, which was the main outcome we were looking to drive. Zero trust is so valuable because it goes a step beyond the traditional perimeter defenses we've relied on for decades. Firewalls, then you have to have a VPN to get through the firewall, and then you've got a public-facing IP, which is exposing you, and you now have an attack surface. And of course, that's exactly what these hackers using AI are going to latch onto. But that's the beauty of zero trust, a modern approach with Zscaler's comprehensive zero trust architecture and AI. You're ensuring safe public AI productivity. You're protecting the integrity of your private AI, and you're stopping AI-powered attacks cold, because even if they penetrate your perimeter defenses, they can't do anything. That's zero trust in action. Thrive in the AI era with Zscaler, zero trust plus AI to stay ahead of the competition and remain resilient as threats and risks evolve. Learn more at zscaler.com/security. zscaler.com/security. Cybersecurity. We thank him so much for supporting us. Your wife just wrote a book. That's exciting.
Yes, she did.
What is she? Is it a novel?
It is. It's a historical fiction. It's about the 1982.
My favorite genre. I love historical fiction.
She just put it out, and she's gotten a lot of great reviews on it already too. So it's a great book. It's really fast read.
So what era are we in?
It's about the 1982 Tylenol murders, and it's a suspenseful novel about that. And she wrote. Obviously, it was funny.
They never figured out who did those.
They never figured it out. There's actually a Netflix series that just came out about it, and it came out the same time. Like coincidentally, it came out at the same time. But hers is obviously a fictionalized version of it. But it's great.
Is this her first novel?
It's first novel. Yep.
Well, that's wonderful. Congratulations. It's called Absolution, and it is not Mrs. Maresca. It is E.E. Lawson.
This is her pen name. Yes. This is her pen name.
So you're outing her now.
She also did Gimpy and did the cover herself as well. So there you go.
Oh, it's a beautiful cover. I love it. I love it. Oh, how nice. Fantastic. Congratulations. Debut novel. And it's on Kindle Unlimited. Now, did they talk her into that, or did she agree to it?
No. She has a bunch of author friends, and her mom's a book editor as well, and just suggested that's where a good place to start. So
that's one of the things I've been reading about that I don't like about what Audible does with authors. You've resisted this successfully, Corey, but they put a lot of pressure on you to be in the Amazon Audible Originals pile. But what I just read, which is disappointing, is that the amount of money authors get from Audible, whether they're in the originals or not, it's not originals, Audible Plus, whether they're in Plus or not, which is the same thing as their Kindle Unlimited, is dependent on what the authors on Audible Plus make. Mm-hmm. And because there is now a lot of AI slop in Audible Plus, authors are getting less and less money from Audible as their royalties. Have you heard this story, Corey?
Well, it's a continuation of a long series of bad practices that I think we talked about this when Rebecca and I were on to talk about checkpoint capitalism. AudibleGate was the kind of granddaddy of these scandals. AudibleGate was an accounting trick they used that stole $100 million from Audible independent authors, ACX authors. Where they were effectively encouraging readers to return books as unsatisfactory, even if they liked them, because then they didn't have to pay a royalty. So you would buy a book and then Audible would pressure you to give it back and say you didn't like it. And then Audible wouldn't have to pay a royalty to you. And they were just showing you net sales, not sales with outgoing sales and returns. And what had happened over the years is they played with the UX to find different ways to say, do you want to return this book and get your credit back and get another book this month? And they gotten better and better at doing that because they just done a lot of A/B splitting. And so authors just found their revenues falling and falling and falling. And they had a glitch and they showed a complete return where they showed the outgoing and incoming. They sent it to all the authors. And it turns out that there's like crime authors who are retired forensic accountants who really like to dig through those things. And it's $100 million theft.
Wow.
And, I think to understand why this is going on, it's not that they used to like writers when they gave them better deals. I mean, you probably remember when, was it Hugh, the guy who wrote Silo, Hugh,
gosh, I can't remember his name.
The guy who wrote Silo had,
Hugh Howey?
was getting Hugh Howey. That's right. Hugh Howey was getting really good deals from Amazon Kindle, and they were treating him really well. And he wrote these editorials about how this was a much better experience than he'd ever had as an author working with major publishers. And the reason they got worse is because they became the only game in town. They had their writers locked in. This goes back to what I was saying about Azure and lock-in. Even if you love the products and even if you think they're great, if you want them to stay great, right? If you want the people if you work there, if you want the people who are colleagues in the firm who have good ideas about how to make the product better and not make it worse at the expense of the customers to win those arguments, and if you are one of those customers, if you want to make sure that you still have good products, you need to be able to leave. The Microsoft or the Google antitrust case that they lost, the first of the 3 that they lost over the last 2 years, a lot of it turned on this interpersonal conflict that was revealed in the memos that were published during the trial between Prabhakar Raghavan, who was the head of revenue, and Les Gomes, who was the head of search. And Google had tapped out growth on search because they had a 90% market share. So they weren't going to grow anymore. And so growth was flatlining. And Raghavan's idea was to make search worse, right? To take out things like autocorrecting spelling and searching for synonyms when you searched for a search term in the background and so on. That's the piece by Ed Zitron. He decided he militated for making search worse so that you'd have to search 2 or 3 times to get the search result you were looking for.
He was made head of search.
And he became head of search, and he won the argument, right? Yeah. Well, why did he win the argument? He won the argument because the management team looked at this and they said, if we make search worse, we won't lose customers because we have a 90% market share and we're the only search engine anyone's ever heard of. So if you want to make sure that when that happens in your boardrooms at the companies you work at, so that you can get up and say, I love this product I work on and I'm glad I work on it, you want your customers to be able to leave. Because if they can't, the worst person in your company is going to end up taking it over and enshittifying every product that you care about and you missed your mother's funeral for and you didn't go to your kids' Little League games so you could ship on time on.
Although, as you pointed out in your talk at CF, it had a negative consequence in the long run for Google because they suck now.
Yeah, but
there are alternatives.
They're more profitable than ever.
Yeah, that's true. At least for now.
But people are still locked in. They even
people are starting to realize that Google sucks and there are other choices. I pay money for Coggy.
I hope so.
Because it's so obvious Google is terrible.
I use Coggy too, and I pay for it. Yeah. But even paying for Coggy, I can't. On my Android phone, I can't make the search box on the home screen a Coggy search box.
Yeah.
And
guess
everything
why?
defaults to searching Google, right? I mean,
right.
There's just so much lock-in.
That's one of the reasons I never use Google's launcher on an Android phone. I always use a third-party launcher because I hate that search pill.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't even move it off the home screen.
No, it's permanent. I refuse to use their launcher. All right. I told Lisa, better get all your stuff from China now because many countries, including China, are no longer mailing things to the United States. The de minimis exemption, which said there are no tariffs on anything under $800, has now expired as of Friday. This has expired and come back several times, but this is... Assuming this continues, there are about 4 million packages a day which will suddenly be tariffed, depending on what country it's coming from. And because it's unknown and because it's been up and down, mail agencies in many countries are now saying, yeah, we're not going to take mail for the United States. So if you're buying something on eBay or Temu or Shein that is coming from outside the U.S., watch out. According to the story in Quartz, one company that will be particularly affected by all of this is Etsy, which I didn't realize. But Etsy, I guess a lot of stuff from Etsy comes from overseas. Sellers sold $10.9 billion in goods on Etsy last year. 30% of them export their goods outside their home country. So this will be interesting. Already Temu and Shein are playing games trying to, pretend it's drop shipping from the U.S. and all sorts of things to get their stuff in there. Swiss Post said starting August 26th, it will temporarily not accept postal goods intended for the U.S. Japan Post suspended shipments to the U.S. from August 27th. India, August 25th. The United Kingdom's Royal Mail says it's using a postal delivery duties paid service, which said it meets the export requirements, but it means that duties will be calculated and then added, I guess, to the cost of the good. 88% of the de minimis shipments come through international mail. So I don't know what there is to say about this, but that's going to happen quick.
And it doesn't apply to China.
Oh, yeah, by the way, China's exempted, which is weird. Although
they worked out a deal.
They worked out a deal.
This is what we call the art of the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, but who gets screwed by the art of the deal?
Well, I don't know. Did you buy any Trump coin?
I did not. Taiwan's postal service suspending shipments. Australia.
I mean, Leo, there is a tip jar in the Oval Office. If you want to get, we all know how to get the service you want.
I just need a little gold bar with some Corning glass on top of it.
Yeah.
Apple will announce its new iPhones in a week. And everybody's saying, oh, I wonder if they'll raise the prices, but they have an exemption right now. It's not so much that, I mean, it's bad enough the tariffs exist, but they're so off and on that people aren't sure what's going to happen. And that's why these postal services are saying, well, we don't know. Should we ship it? What are we going to do?
Well, when Trump brought down the first round of tariffs, there were container ships in the sea with millions of dollars worth of billions of dollars worth of merchandise in them that all got sort of stranded, right? Like that's what you don't want. And so it makes sense that they're walking away from this.
Yeah. As well as wind farms and a bunch of other things. All right, let's talk about something happier.
Yes.
You used to be a big Lenovo fan. I know, Corey. You would immediately put Linux on your Lenovo box. You're using Linux now to talk to us. Amazing. How's it working?
I love it. My framework is the best computer I've ever owned.
That's right. You switched to framework. In fact, they just announced an update to their 16.
So they just announced a whole bunch of updates. Everyone's really excited that their gaming laptop can do hot swap GPUs, which is great. The thing that has me over the moon is they say they're going to do a track nub for their keyboards.
You miss your old Lenovo nipple.
Oh my God, I want a track nub so bad. I want a track nub and 3 hardware buttons, and I would sell my child for it.
What? You're the only person I've ever met that likes that little nub in the middle of the keyboard. You use that instead of a trackpad?
God, I love it. Yes, yes, yes. And then 3 hardware buttons. That the idea that you've got to sort of guess where the left button is.
Oh, I know. That drives me crazy.
And then you accidentally get a middle button and close your tab instead of popping down a pull down menu. It's the worst. It's absolutely the worst. So yes, I really desperately want that track nub to come, and it can't come a moment too soon.
The beauty of this is probably you could just swap out your existing keyboard.
Right. You'll just swap out the keyboard. Because I've worn out 3 framework keyboards already. Which normally in my days of buying a ThinkPad every year, I would wear out a keyboard sort of in month 8 or so and replace it. And then, by month 12, I'd be shopping for a new computer. But now I'm really excited about being able to just hot swap and get the nub.
I have to say, though, that the Framework CEO says they haven't been able to find a short enough nub.
But they say they've got it prototyped.
Could you just shave it down a little bit?
Yeah.
It pokes the screen, right? And of course, that's not what you want. Right.
And during the first round of tariffs, they stopped shipping a bunch of stuff to the US. So
I'm waiting for my Framework desktop, which doesn't have 3 buttons and a nub, but I guess I can get a keyboard that does.
You just get a keyboard and a mouse. But I figure worst case scenario, I'm going to be in Germany, Canada, the UK, and Portugal on tour. And worst case scenario, I can get them to FedEx it to a hotel and get it on the road.
Obviously, they listen to you because they added the nub because of you. I can't imagine there's anybody else saying,
no. The forums are just full of people going, oh my God, give me a nub and 3 buttons.
Really?
Yeah.
Shoshana, do you even know what we're talking about?
No, but it's funny because I made friends with the Adam Smith Institute, and there was one dress I really wanted, and they didn't ship it to the US. So it was like, can I please have this dress sent to you guys, and you'll send it to me? We're like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And it was great. I got the dress.
She's drop shipping to the UK now.
When I lived in the UK, I had a Japanese toilet freight forwarded from a freight forwarder in North Carolina. I had it shipped by Toto and then freight forwarded to the UK.
This is one thing. One lesson of all of this is that you said nature finds a way. People find a way. They will get around all these restrictions.
They'll arbitrage it.
They arbitrage it.
Lou was trying to say something.
No, I was going to say my ThinkPad still has the nub.
Oh, he's got a ThinkPad still.
Oh, yeah.
ThinkPad still have them for sure.
I love it. Yeah.
You use it too?
I use the nub. Yeah, I love it. I'm with Corey. Like the trackpads, they're just like their accuracy of click, is just a pain in the neck. I just hate it.
It seems so fussy to move the nub to get the mouse to move around. It's like,
and twisting your hand this way to get at the trackpad is like it's an RSI waiting to happen. When you're like this, you're typing, and then you reach your finger out and you do the nub. You're not twisting your hand back in on itself in order to do a bunch of fine motions.
Okay. I obviously never gave the nub enough time to really get used to it.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony, did you generate this on the fly, the White House tip jar?
Yeah.
That looks exactly like what the tip jar we used to have in the studio.
Yeah, that's Nana Banana.
Nana Banana. So that everybody's excited about this new AI model from Google. They actually stealthed it for a while, called Nano Banana, which takes a still and modifies it. Like I could take this picture of the four of us and put cowboy hats on all of us. I'm sure somebody will do that right now for us, right? Have you played with it? Oh, by the way, here's my tip jar. That in case this is not AI. That's real. There's not a lot of money in that tip jar. Actually, we used to have a digital currency tip jar on the website and got there's 7.85 Bitcoin in there, but I neglected to write down the password. Yeah, you laugh, but that's almost $1 million in Bitcoin that I cannot access. That tip jar turned out to be a great. Can you imagine having $1 million in your tip jar and you can't get it out?
Why don't you just call the Bitcoin headquarters and ask them to do password recovery with you?
Yeah. Help me. My son keeps saying, hey, I saw this guy on the YouTube that can do it. I said, yeah, I'm not giving this wallet to some guy on YouTube because I'll never see it's too much money. He's going to say, oh yeah, I couldn't get in. Here's your wallet back. Oh, it's empty. What happened? All right. Anyway. Be very careful on X if you live in Stuttgart or anywhere in Germany. An economist, Thomas Wehrhaus, has been fined 16,000 euros for being sarcastic on X.
Oh, great.
Okay. He's being prosecuted under Section 185 of the German Criminal Code for 3 separate X posts, or as you call them, shits, that government officials and journalists deemed insulting. The total fine, penalty from the Dusseldorf District Court, August 12th, 16,000 euros. The first incident, June 2023, the vice president of the Bundestag and a leading figure in the Green Party had issued an alarmist post about climate change. Wehrhaus said, there is indeed an extreme drought, namely in Katrin Göring-Eckart's head. Okay. But apparently the vice president of the Bundestag was not the person who sued. A student filled out a criminal complaint form on her behalf, sent it to her. She signed and forwarded it to the police. The second charge came after Wehrhaus discovered the identity of the same doctoral student and referred to him online as a little snitch. Oh, no, 999. The student filed a personal complaint, claimed an insult, and the court held, yeah. Third post got him in further legal trouble when he criticized journalists for ARD, the fascist party in Germany.
AFD.
This is a different one. ARD is not AFD. Sorry.
It's a newspaper, yeah.
It's a newspaper. Moritz Rödel had defended the economic minister's decision to skip a Bundestag debate on Germany's heating law. Wehrhaus responded with a post calling Rödel a nincompoop. Is that a German word? You still have a lot to learn in order not to be constantly fooled. That's all he said. 16,000 euros. Now, I think our street should get on this case. So I guess you don't care what happens in Germany, right?
No, we've been looking at a lot of stuff in Europe. I mean, the UK and Germany in particular have been really, really bad with this stuff. Part of it is like we don't have like influence with government there, but it's something that I want to take into account to remind people like how laws will be abused.
Well, also, they don't have a First Amendment, right? I mean, there's no...
Yeah, but I thought they had stronger free speech protections than this. Like, I really, from my understanding, I thought it was stronger than this, but I guess not.
And I guess not.
It's really atrocious to see this stuff happening. I don't know. It's really horrible, but I try to the best of my abilities, use this to remind people in the US, don't do stupid crap like this and create like terrible regimes where you can be penalized for free speech, because this is what's going to happen here, you know?
What is German for nincompoop? Did you do this with Nano Banana, Lou?
I did, yes.
So what's the process? Is it a text prompt on top of a real picture? What is it?
It is. You just upload a real picture and then put a text prompt on there.
And what was the prompt
thing is it doesn't regulate right now on copyright. So I don't know how they got past all of this, but
that's your picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually you can't do that, huh? Could you?
It's not. If you dig into the pixels too, it's identical to my image. So they didn't do anything to it.
Oh, was your picture in? Did you provide your picture to them?
I did. Yep.
Okay. So the desktop background is the thing that
is all generated. Yeah,
that's all generated. It's still pretty good. I like it. I like the bokeh.
Yeah, it did a nice job.
Did you tell it to do bokeh or no?
I did. I told it to do that. Yeah.
Nice. It's impressive.
It's fast too. I think obviously.
Yeah, you did that instantly.
OpenAI is takes a couple seconds. A lot of them take a long time.
Is it in Gemini? Do I just go to Gemini?
Yeah, they offer you a certain amount, even if you don't have Gemini Pro, but the 2.5 model will do it.
I think
it'll route it to it.
I think I ran out of credits, as I remember.
Leo at twit.tv account has Pro, just FYI.
How do you know that?
Well, because
have you been using my Leo at twit.tv?
No. Well, I think the whole twit.
We all have Pro.
Yeah.
Did we buy Pro for everybody? I also bought Pro for my personal account, so maybe now I'm overdoing the Pro. I have too much Pro. So, okay, it says try image editing with our best image model, Nano Banana. And it gives you the little instruction here. Upload an image and describe your edits. Okay, that's cool. And it's using Flash. But could you do it with Pro as well or no?
Yeah, I think it just routes it to the model regardless of which one you choose.
Yeah, that's fine from Flash.
Okay. Well, I've got a show to do, unlike all of you. I got to find other things to talk about. Google has locked down Android a little bit. One of the things that was, the Google had a real advantage, I think, over Apple, even though they still have been attacked by Epic and others, is that you could at least sideload third-party apps. Google would warn you like crazy and all that stuff. Well, they've started to lock it down now. They say we'll have to verify your identity, even if you're distributing an app outside the Play Store. You got to submit your information to an Android developer console. I guess it makes sense from a security point of view. On the other hand, one of the things that's cool about sideloading is you can install anything, right. And it's on you to keep make sure it's secure. So this is now more gatekeeping from Google, if you ask me. What do you think, Lou?
Yeah, I think sideloading is really only, to me, good for developers who want to do testing. Obviously.
Well, there's the F-Droid store. There are all these third-party stores.
Yeah, but you can't. The problem I have a problem with, you just can't trust them. I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, obviously, Google feels like that's part of the problem. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Actually, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, even back in the day, technology-wise, most stores, even like Windows Store, they're requiring you to sign your applications by a glorified signing provider. So they want to make sure that obviously everything's safe. And I think, like you said, these third-party companies and sideloading, you can't verify it.
Yeah.
So I think that it's true that Google goes to great lengths to keep its users safe from people who aren't Google. But Google will not
Nicely
keep you
said.
safe from Google. And Google has done things like surveilled its users and lied to its users and defrauded its advertisers and defrauded its publishers. And I also think that the important thing to note is that the reason Google is doing this is because a court found them guilty of having an illegal monopoly and ordered them to open up the App Store in the Epic case. And this is not even malicious compliance with that court order. This is malicious non-compliance. Very unlikely to survive the court challenge that's inevitably going to come as a result of this, because they were not ordered to open up the App Store but make developers apply for permission. They were ordered to open up the App Store. And, I do think we have mechanisms for addressing software vendors who sell malicious or substandard products, which is things like liability. But the idea that we just trust the benevolent dictator to be benevolent, we are living at the tail end of a 20-year experiment in that, and it failed. Yeah. And once again, if you want Google to be very good at curating its store and making sure that no one ever sideloads an app, then just make Google really good at it. And the way to make Google really good at it is to make sure that people have a choice so that they have to be better than the alternative. I just don't buy that a computer that I own, Google, should be in charge of what I install on it. And moreover, given that I bought the computer on the condition that I be able to choose what I install, the idea that Google is going to do an after-the-fact software update that takes away a feature I paid for, I think rises to the level of fraud. But finally, Google is not validating apps. Google is validating developers. And so Google is making no guarantees about the promise of the quality of an app, right? There are people who sell on eBay for 5 years, small items, and then they have 5-star ratings and 100 good ratings, and then they list 25 laptops that don't exist, get $1,000 for each of them, and disappear. The fact that Google knows a developer is good because they posted some good apps tells you nothing about whether the next app that developer posts is going to be any good. So I don't think they're making a safety guarantee either.
Right. Well, why are they doing it then?
They're doing it to maliciously non-comply with a court order in the antitrust case they lost to Epic.
We are still waiting for Judge Mehta to decide what he's going to do to Google. It should be soon. It was supposed to be a while ago, I think.
It was supposed to be about the end of August.
Yeah. So
he's got 5 hours.
Among the things he can choose, of course, forcing them to divest Chrome.
Sell Chrome. Yeah. I hope they get a data deletion order. I hope they're ordered to delete user data.
That would be interesting.
Happen, but it might happen in the other case. They've lost two government cases and one private case. So it might happen in one of those cases.
One of the other things the Department of Justice is asking for is for Google to open up its algorithm, which Google says that's not going to end well. I think they're probably right.
I don't know. I mean, we say security through obscurity is bullshit everywhere else.
That's true.
Except in search, where it's like, well, if I told you how the search worked, you'd figure out how to spam it. So when no one has ever said that about cryptography, right. Which defends things that are a lot more important than search.
Although, I mean, one of the big fights Google is constantly making is against spammy sites and spammy links. People trying to game the algorithm.
Sure. But cryptographers have to contend with governments trying to break cryptography. I mean, are you saying that spammers are a harder adversary to cope with and should be, therefore, our security measures should be more forgiving?
There are a lot more of them than there are governments. There are a lot more.
There are a lot more people trying to crack crypto than there are people trying to game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One last ad. I have actually a host of stories and an invite for everybody thanks to Corey. But first, a word from Smarty. Now, that's a good name. Smarty they are our sponsor for this segment. They are the premier provider of high-performance, cloud-based address data tools, trusted by leading organizations in pretty much every industry: insurance, real estate, finance, healthcare, e-commerce, of course, technology in general, with more than 20 million this is an interesting stat. I had a great conversation with these guys. There are, in the United States, more than 20 million non-postal service addresses. How do you deliver something to them? Smarty's database expands beyond rural limitations from U.S. and international address validation to autocomplete, rooftop geocoding, property data enrichment, Smarty offers the most advanced scalable solutions on the market. Backed by proprietary technology and data, Smarty delivers unmatched accuracy, consistency, and insight. Every property has more than 350 data points associated. Rooftop level precision, very handy if you got to know where the door is that you're going to deliver that package to. Real-time processing speeds exceeding 25,000 addresses per second. They can handle your traffic. Smarty enables better decisions no matter the size and complexity of your business. And just look at the Smarty website, smarty.com/twit. You'll see how many companies are relying on Smarty. I'll give you an example. Fabletics. They wanted to go international, but they had a problem with conversion rates internationally. They've drastically increased conversion rates for new customers, especially overseas, thanks to Smarty. Built for developers and engineered for scalability, Smarty's APIs are reliable, they're lightning fast, they're easy to integrate, and they're supported by expert documentation and real-time technical support. I'll give you another example. Speedway Motors, their e-commerce conversion rates going downhill despite increased traffic to their website. The director of digital product and technology says, quote, "We use Smarty to identify an address as a commercial address. Conversion rates, very strong now. Everything was well set up on the Smarty side. I've really enjoyed working with this service." Developers love Smarty. It's a great API. It's fast. It's easy to implement. Smarty is a 2025 award winner across many G2 categories: best results, best usability, users most likely to recommend, and high performer for small business. And of course, Smarty is also USPS CAS and SOC 2 certified and HIPAA compliant. If your organization is seeking the most accurate, reliable, and future-ready address data suite, Smarty is the way to go. Try it yourself. Get 1,000 free lookups when you sign up for their 42-day free trial. Visit smarty.com/twit to learn more. That's smarty.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support. Of This Week in Tech, South Korea has banned cell phones in all middle and elementary school classrooms. In Petaluma, the Petaluma School District just decided to do that. All the students have a little bag. They lock their phone into the beginning of the day, and then they unlock it as they leave. This is spreading across the nation. The scourge of cell phones finally eliminated from our nation's classrooms. You're smiling, Corey.
I don't know. I mean, I'm of two minds about it. I have colleagues. My colleague Haley Tsukiyama has worked a lot on this. My impression reading Taylor Lorenz on the subject is that the research on phones in classrooms and their impact on it is not great, because it's trying to disentangle it from a lot of other stuff that's going on at the same time. And the outcomes when the phones leave the classroom have not been well validated.
I can understand, though. You don't want kids playing, Flappy Bird during
100%,
economics.
100%. And I teach a lot. I'm a new visiting professor at Cornell, and I'm going out there in a couple of weeks for 10 days to go and teach a bunch of classes. And
nice.
I've guest taught classes, and there's kids who are, doing playing on their phones, and it's no fun. I've also taught classes where they're just kids who are asleep, and it's no fun, right? I don't think you have to be on a phone. We should
ban
to be
sleep.
Distracted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My concern about the phone stuff is that it's not that teachers have it too easy and we shouldn't make it easier for them to control their classrooms. It's that the means by which you control phones in schools involves a lot of invasive fallout. And it also is one of those things where you swallow a spider to catch a fly, right? Like there is such a thing as a burner phone. And the fact that the kid handed you a phone and let you lock it up doesn't mean that they don't continue to have a phone. And I worry that this just escalates into a bunch of stuff that is to one side of blocking kids from having phones, like searching kids and searching their bags.
Right.
And I worry that bag search and kid search is also a pretext for a bag search and kid search of whoever the principal doesn't like or the school authorities don't like, and singling them out for more searches. I know that wherever we do create a greater latitude for disciplinary action, it tends to be selectively enforced, and it tends to victimize the people who are already struggling. So I don't know. I mean, my parents are both career educators. My brother's an educator. I do a lot of guest lecturing. It's not an easy job. I would not be surprised if in a year we heard a bunch of stories about phones getting hacked, phones getting stolen, kids being searched because they're carrying burner phones, blah, 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 blah. A bunch of stuff that is a fairly foreseeable outcome. And this is a theme we've talked about this during this show, right? That people say, if you do X, people will do Y, and you'll have to do Z, and Z is going to be something you don't want to do. And they're like, no, I'm sure it'll be fine. And then a year later, we're like, yeah, Z happened. And they're like, who could have foreseen it?
Lou, and your 16-year-old has a cell, I bet, of course, right?
Yeah, he has a cell, but it's interesting about the state of Rhode Island is they're restricting all devices, all personal devices, not just cell phones. So this includes AirPods, you name it. They're not allowed to have them other than the Chromebooks that they're sanctioned. So,
each public school shall have a policy regarding the use of personal electronic devices on school grounds to reduce distractions, maintain environments focused on learning, and protect the privacy and safety of students and staff. I think one of the things that sometimes is a problem is the fact that the kids have these phones and can record video. But sometimes that's something that can save a kid from an abusive teacher or abusive classmates. How do you feel about your kid not being able to bring in their AirPods?
I mean, that's not a big deal, but I think there's, obviously the
mobile phone, tablet, computer, smartwatch. I think you can't even wear a smartwatch.
I mean, they're all worried about obviously cheating and other things as well. So not just distraction, but the cheating. But they also have very strange policies around AI use as well, which is going weird. It's starting to be weird. Like, for instance, you're not allowed to use AI on helping you with math homework or something like that. So I think there's just this kind of like push away from technology because they're worried about the outcomes of them.
Shoshana, this seems to be a trend in general. I know this is something our street's not fond of, which is government more and more seems to be intruding into our personal lives, and in particular, in a kind of a moralistic way. Like, and I often feel like this is kind of abrogating the right of the parent to control their kids. Does government need to get involved in this?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too, where it's like, if a school makes a decision, I'm like, okay, but even that there, when I was 13, I started getting really sick, and now I'm many years later, stuff worked out. But at the time, the school didn't believe me. A lot of doctors didn't believe me, and the school wouldn't let me call my mom to have her pick me up because I was feeling really, really sick that day.
They thought you were a shirker.
Yeah. And then I ended up calling her on my cell phone, and I was able to do that, and it made a difference. And I know it's a one-off, but like they were doing that to a girl who had a tumor. Like, she had an X-ray or whatever test it was, and it showed a tumor. And the school psychologist had told her, no, you don't have that. That's not why you're like this, or something like that. So schools do have, abusive histories in certain cases, and I worry for the kids who are on the margins there. Plus the further stuff like that Corey's talking about, okay, are we going to accept this? But what about the next steps? What about the kids who won't listen and stuff like that? Plus, parenting has to be a thing. Like, we need to make sure that like kids behave in classrooms. And my dad was a high school teacher. He's retired now, and he struggled with a lot. But like, I just worry, like, this is probably the thing I dislike the least out of everything, but I still have some real functional concerns with how this works and other negative fallout from it.
At least the Rhode Island law says that school administrators, teachers may not search the devices. They can't look at what's the contents.
But there's never a guarantee. It's like, oh, okay, sure.
That's against the law, Teach. What are you doing?
Yeah, they can just say they didn't. And, I saw over their shoulder that,
Right.
And it's going to push kids to do stuff on their school issued laptops, which is going to increase the amount of lockdown and surveillance on those school laptops, because kids do. I mean, my old editor for Information Week, Mitch Wagner, tells this story about how one day, like it was a magazine for CIOs. And one day this old blog post he wrote about, a Cisco firmware update, suddenly the comments section comes alive, and it's two 8th graders, talking about a classmate. and their school firewall hadn't blocked forums on random blog sites, and so they found ancient blog posts to use as message boards.
Of course they're going to do that. Yeah.
And I just worry that this, we've already seen awful degrees of surveillance and control on school issued devices. And again, that's disproportionately directed at kids of color and queer kids. And I just feel like any excuse to spy on kids more, especially in the age of AI, I bet there's already some grifters just rubbing his forelegs together and saying, oh, goody, 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 I'm going to sell a lot of spyware to schools that'll give you a score about how wicked your kids' private messaging is and tell you which kids to put on a watch list because, now that they can't do their private messaging on a private device, it's all going to be on their school device. And we're going to be able to gain insights and give you a dashboard of risk factors in your school. If we had an environment in which the devices schools issue to kids were oriented around a kind of respect for those kids and a proportionality of the degree of surveillance and control exerted, I'd be a lot less worried about this. But I do think this is corralling kids into an already very abusive set of devices.
Yeah. So the EFF awards are coming up. We want to support EFF. You've probably heard enough on this show to realize how important the Electronic Frontier Foundation is. Corey, you still do some work for them, yes?
I am still a half-time contractor and a staff activist, or an activist rather, at EFF. I've been there for 24 years now, more than half my working life, nearly half my whole life. The EFF Awards, we recognize people every year. I'm very excited this year that we're recognizing the Software Freedom Law Center in India, who are litigators who litigate to enforce free software licenses. Free software licenses are only as good as someone's willingness to sue to enforce them. And they've done really important work in India in making sure that when free code is integrated into commercial products or government products, that the new source code is also released. But we have 3 honorees this year. The ceremonies are always very, very good. I have to miss it this year. I'm going to be at Cornell. But on September the 10th, we'll be having them in San Francisco. You can live stream them for free. If you're an EFF member, there's a reduced fee at the door, or you can join EFF and get in at the reduced fee, or come in for the whole fee and join and get a refund for part of your door fee. So please consider joining us in San Francisco.
Very nice. EFF.org. And the EFF Awards are September 10th. We'll report on the winners. That's what we will do.
Very good. Those are the winners. Those are the winners. It's
they already won.
They are the winners. We have 3
I'm reporting on them. The Just Futures Law, Ari Meyer, and the Software Freedom Law Center in India. All right. Yeah. Nice. Congratulations to all 3. That's great. Thank you, Corey Doctorow. Everybody, get the book, Enshittification. Sign up for the audio version of it. Enshittification. Here it is. There it is. Oh, it's got a little poop emoji right on the front there. Easy to find.
Yeah.
I love it. Go to Kickstarter or go to disenshittification.org. 2 T's. Actually 3 T's, but
3 in total.
2 in total. Middle. If I were an AI, I would know exactly how many. No, I wouldn't. Thank you, Corey.
There was an R.
Always a pleasure. Congratulations on the Cornell thing. That's great. Good luck on your 28-city tour. Holy camole.
Yes.
Hope you survive it. And come back soon. We always love seeing you.
I love being on it.
Thank you for being here.
Nice
we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Lou and Shoshana.
Same to you, Shoshana Weissman, rstreet.org. She writes great stuff there. It's always a pleasure for you and your marmot to join us. We always are happy to see you. Head of digital media at rstreet.org. Thank you, Shoshana.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. And Lou Maresca. We call him Silent Lou these days. I feel terrible.
Which is funny. They don't call me that at home for sure.
Not at home. No. But I kept trying to find a story for you, but I wasn't doing a very good job. I apologize. It's great to have you. Keep the nano banana going, and more importantly, keep the Python and the AI in the spreadsheets, because Excel and Python, that's a match made in heaven.
AI and Excel in general is amazing.
Absolutely.
We're shipping the Copilot function coming soon, so check that out too.
Oh, good. That's soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lou. Great to see you again. Thanks to all of you for joining us. A special thanks to our Club Twit members who make this possible. If you're in the club, don't forget tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. I know it's Labor Day, but we're working. Jeff Paris and I will interview Karen Howe about her new book, The Empire of AI. That'll be for a later show, but you can watch live in the club. Club Twit Discord is a great place to hang. We encourage you to join us in the Discord if you're a club member. And if you're not, we encourage you to go to twit.tv/clubtwit and join. Get ad-free versions of all the shows, special shows we don't put anywhere else. We now do all the keynote coverage in the club. In fact, we've got the Meta Connect keynote coming up in a week from Wednesday. It'll be right after Intelligent Machines. But you can't watch it unless you're in the club. So twit.tv/clubtwit. We do stream Twit every Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. 8 different ways. Of course, in the Club Twit Discord, that's way one, but there's also YouTube, open to all. Same with Twitch, TikTok, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. Everywhere. You can watch us live, but you don't have to watch us live. You can get a copy of the show, audio or video, at twit.tv. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to the video. And of course, the best way to get any of our shows is to subscribe in your favorite podcast client. Yes, we're RSS. We believe in open standards. So subscribe and get the show automatically every Sunday, just in time for your Monday morning commute. 20 years we've been doing this. Here's to 20 more. And as I have said for the last 20 years, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.